Alright then, so I think at this point it's gonna be a good moment for me to get acquainted with the Aztecs, as I didn't have the early access or anything. So I'm just gonna be going through the tech tree, as I'm gonna doing with new expansions and new gods. And then, well, we're gonna be trying to catch it in action in some community games. So I'm gonna be hoping to see some quality as well. So far looks like that plenty people are playing Aztecs and testing them out. The win percentage for them is kind of abysmal, but maybe a bit surprising, because of course there were people with early access, so you'll be thinking they might be having some build orders prepared, but maybe not entirely as much. But yeah, it's hopefully gonna be getting a bit better in there once people understand how they play. But you could be looking at Demeter. Demeter was a bit of a testing ground for some of the mechanisms they wanted to introduce, and she's already not entirely that great as far as the win percentage going up with rating, for example. So, we'll see if it's not gonna be in the end just like a bit of a whole design perspective that they have taken that is not entirely agreeing with how Age of Mythology is played. That's kind of like something that might be a problem, because also plenty of things that they have done even on original Retold is of a similar ilk that basically like doesn't entirely mesh with the game as well as they thought that it will. I'm gonna be repeating typical example, the myth units and their special powers being on command. No one ever has used that probably, and it was one of the most touted features, so just kind of shows you maybe a bit of a disconnect with the reality, but we'll see. Hopefully that's gonna be one kind of good future for the Aztecs in here. But nonetheless, I wanted to be there for right now looking at the tech tree. So let us have a look at the Aztecs. So of course gonna be quite a bit of a, yet again, interesting situation as far as with the names. So Huitzilopochtli is gonna be the first one, Lord of War and the Sun. At this point, just kind of thinking if I should be first looking at the normal units, probably the normal tech tree. Let's kind of have a look at that first, so that I have some maybe idea and understanding what's up. Some kind of general ideas. So villagers, that's gonna be called settler this time around. Oh, well, they're running out of ideas how to call them, so that has to be a settler. Kimichin spy. Okay, so that's gonna be our scouts. It's not gonna be the rabbits. We obviously already knew that the Totochtins are going to be there from myth unit. Bit of a interesting story about them. They have also very interesting mythology in there. Some of the Aztec god powers look kinda crazy. Now we're gonna be getting to it, to their general ideas, and hopefully also showing them in the game somewhere. But yeah, I've read and seen a few things, not entirely as much, but have some kind of generalist idea that the Aztecs are supposed to be currently weaker. But again, it might be just because people are not entirely familiar with the mechanisms. But I just said that because maybe the mechanisms do not entirely mesh well with what Age of Mythology is. That is something that's gonna have to be determined if the players are gonna be learning to play them. But that's just scout and ranged soldiers. Sorry. Line of sight grows when... Okay, so we have basically put everything together and created a new unit. Okay, so they are out of ideas, and they're just gonna be right now combining things. No, frankly, that's already gonna be a bit complicated as far as if you are hoping for the next DLC possibly coming. I'm fairly certain that it would be easy for them to make the fourth gods for the other civilizations. I'll be surprised if that didn't come. But a full-fledged DLC, that's gonna be already running into quite a heavy wall and a hard wall of what to actually do so that it isn't the same as the others. And that is a major problem if you want to be having distinct civilizations. So they might be just kind of forced to go into something different, or reimaginations, I don't know. Maybe like fifth gods, if they want to be even going that far. And they haven't right now finished even with the fourth. But yeah, this is just like a first unit, and you can just kind of see what they're doing right here. Interesting. Good for exploring, but weak in combat. Not basically just like a different catastrophes, therefore. We'll have to be seeing the statistics after. Serpent Skirt. Coatlicue summons anacondas from your destroyed buildings to defend the area. That's gonna be... wait a second. Yeah, they're just gonna be at this point mixed with what we have there, so I just probably should be looking at only standardized units. Okay, that seems to be normal in here. Nothing too specific. You can see boats. It's gonna be a classic combination. So how are they called? Arrow canoe. Tezcatlipoca canoe. Well, that's a classic ramming galley, of course, in there. Then we do have Atlatl siege canoe. Oh, well, I mean, like with the boats, not like they were too super specific even in the original game. And transport. Then we do have right now the fishing boat, of course, the classic that was visible on some of the screenshots, on one of the screenshots actually before. Bruce and Saltam for a classic, no problem there. Okay, warrior priest, so that's gonna be, yeah, that's the guy that we have seen on the picture, and I was thinking that it's gonna be something like a pharaoh. So they were just gonna not showing the glow around him for some reason on that screenshot, but yes, it was practically something like a pharaoh, no? But I guess it's gonna be there for priest in here practically. We'll see if it's gonna be same-ish on the statistics as it's gonna be the Egyptian one, because you can see the cost 40 food, 70 gold. That's almost like the 100 gold in there. Hero, good against smith units, can build religious buildings, collects relics. Can build the religious buildings, now that's very interesting. And what is a religious building? I mean, like temple, obviously. But what else is a religious building actually? Gonna be having to therefore see in the game, I guess. Or besides, gonna be something specific further. Tzompantli Watchtower. So we do have therefore Tzompantli Tower, sure. That's a normal one. And then you have right now Watchtower. Upgrade Tzompantli Towers into Watchtowers. Adding an attack that slows enemies. Wow, okay, that's an interesting idea. Range attacks and snares all to 85% of their speed for 2 seconds, so basically 15% less. Oh, that's like a normal snare. Isn't normal snare like a quarter? That is 100% certain if they change it on Retold. But something along those lines. Huh, interesting thought. So therefore, making it slightly harder to escape. This might be actually quite a bit interesting for offensive purposes, therefore, of the tower. Because if you have an actual bonus in there to it, it might be even more motivating to play that way. Let's see how it's gonna be utilized, if it's gonna be utilized. For that, armor, flint weapons, feathered armor, they're gonna have to be having completely different setup. Because obviously, as he mentioned, they don't have too much of a deep metallurgy. They have like bronze, if I'm not mistaken. Because, of course, the metals needed for that are having fairly low melting point. But for like classic iron, it's just like way too high for them. They didn't have that. Ballistics, of course, classic in here. Trade unit is gonna be the Tezcatlipoca caravan. So yes, the unit that we have seen on the screenshots as well. We guessed correctly that it's gonna be the trade unit. Through also some help on what they're gonna be called with the community and from the community. Then we do have war hut. So we do have how many military buildings? War hut soldiers in here, and then we do have therefore nobles hut. Right, so we have 2 military buildings, so somewhat like Norse. And war hut is gonna be bringing us what exactly? Tlamanich spearmen, counter cavalry, sure, and Tekihua, okay, Tekihua. That's gonna be probably Kui. And something like Kui, I think it's actually supposed to be. So Tekihua. That's gonna be hard for me to get used to. So I'm maybe gonna be just making it easier for me at the start the Kuihua. But I think it's supposed to be a Kui. A bit more. But nonetheless, archer and spearman therefore in one home. And the second home is gonna be bringing Coyote warrior. That's a counter to ranged soldiers. Infantry only good against ranged soldiers. So basically Huskarls early. Huh, interesting. Seems to be probably... No, is it gonna be throwing axeman? We'll see soon enough, I guess. And Ocelotl warrior is gonna be elite infantry. Now that's gonna be something like the Temple Guard from Age of Empires 2. The new civilizations there in the latest DLC. Good against anything it can reach. Yeah. No, something like a... It's gonna be a combination in there. They have also for the Aztecs, of course, Jaguar warriors as a special unit from Castle in AoE2. So here just gonna switch in into different animal. Because we do have the Jaguar riders, right? The females here. Alright. So basically like a... counter archer and heavy infantry in a different building. So you're gonna be having spearos and archers. Like the basic combination here. And then you need to be having... Well, that depends. I mean, like, if I read correctly, then the Tlamanic spearmen are pretty quick, right? They are something like Egyptian spearmen. So, they're gonna be practically replacing the horses in the early stages. Huh. So, in the end, it almost looks like it maybe just the war hut is gonna be the important piece. Because you don't have anything like axemen, you're gonna be having the spearmen for that. I'll see if maybe like war hut heavy builds are gonna be important here. Counter archers. Kinda looking forward how the Coyote warriors are gonna be working. It's also interesting the cost, because you can say now 30 wood and 55 wood. Usually counter archers are just wood and gold. And then you have the cavalrymen, right? So, either those are gonna be ranged, or they're gonna be really quick, the Coyote warriors, and they're just gonna be different cavalry. Huh. Well, interesting. Nonetheless, then we do have therefore the castle. It's gonna be called Great Temple this time around. Not gonna be confusing at all in casting. And we're also gonna be having right now some further unit. We're gonna be having Eagle Warriors in here in the castle or in Heroic Age. Not in the castle, but in the Noble's Hut. Elite range soldier, good against anything it can reach, especially range soldiers. So it's something like a super peltast, right? Well, that's potentially dangerous. These kinds of units can be hard to balance a bit. But yeah, 75 wood, 45 gold, that's kinda expensive. It's not as cheap. Very interesting. What is the cost otherwise? 45, 25, that is pretty cheap. 50, 30, that's kind of okay. Maybe a bit higher, but fine. So I guess maybe something akin to Toxotai as far as the quality possibly. Then we do have right now this. Plenty, of course, expensive Ocelotl warrior. And Eagle warrior is also not gonna be entirely the cheapest. Let's gonna see if there's gonna be like a civilization that might be a bit more dependent on wood then. Don't entirely have as much of that. And Devil, thank you for the follow. No, and for some of the specialties in here, Otontin Smasher, that's gonna be there for, I guess, some there for siege weapon. Infantry, good against buildings, so practically destroyer. 150 wood, 100 wood, gold, sorry. 4th population limit, Jesus, man. 4 pop limit for this? That's high. Better be therefore pretty strong then. And the next one is gonna be Shorn one. And that is Elite Counter Infantry, so Fanatic. Infantry only good against other infantry, can stun. Ooh, okay. Stun, not liking that too much. There is also another Balanced Nightmare quite often. Reduce enemy damage with its Terror Whistle. Okay, so that's gonna be like an Ainear special ability on him. So that will be like a normal unit, and will be having Ainear ability to reduce, kind of like the opposite Ainear, so therefore reduce the enemy. Huh. Why not, I guess? But having special abilities on normal units is definitely breaking something. Mikteka. Imbues Shorn ones with the chill of the underworld, enabling them to slay enemies more quickly. All actions damage plus 20%. No, yeah, well, that's something that these types of units usually get. And in the Mythical Age, we get the Jaguar Rider as the... that reminds me of... Jesus guys, what was the TV series of the 90s? Kind of like the Tarzan girl. Was it something like Shannara, or I don't know, what was it? I don't think it was actually televised here too much. We were more into Hercules and Xena. How is actually Xena pronounced in English? Xena? Maybe, because with us, for Czech, it's X, so Xena. But I'm fairly certain it's having different pronunciation in English. And probably other languages as well, but... Yeah, nonetheless, so that's the cavalry. 65 food, 95 gold. Expensive, very expensive. Elite cavalry. Good against anything it can reach. So I guess that's gonna be there for having high defenses. Even though at least it's gonna be a good callback to the 90s, right? And the game designs as well. You can say it now basically no armor, but you are apparently gonna be sturdy enough. By the way, Jaguar Rider is kinda wild, because Jaguars aren't big animals. I mean, like, if you be wanting having like a Tiger Rider, yes, tigers are huge cats. But Jaguars aren't too big, are they? Fairly certain that even, like, leopards are bigger. What do we have? I have, like, tiger, then you have lion, then you're gonna be having the leopard, I guess, somewhere there. Gepard is pretty small, or cheetah. Cheetah is pretty small. And Ocelot is, I'm not sure if it's called the same in English, but probably Ocelot as well. It's very small, same as Lynx. It's like, he's kind of big guy, but not entirely in the height. He has great paws. And I think, yeah, actually Jaguar isn't too high and too great animal either. No, nonetheless, well, good enough for females, I guess. According right now to the devs, but Quinametsin, myth unit, builders of ancient cities, they are known for their strength and size, good against buildings. Oh well, so they're just gonna be having like a mountain giant in your 300 gold. 20 favor though, okay, so that's a legitimately mountain giant though. Okay, so, by the way, look at what Demeter was having originally, the harpy in the castle, in the fortress, right? And that was also myth unit in there. Again, if you're just gonna pay attention, you're just gonna see what they are going to be doing and what they are thinking about. And that's what we try to do in these kinds of videos and talks. Because there are always connections, and they are not entirely hiding things as much. So yeah, while it was removed from the temple in there, or from the fortress for Demeter, here apparently they're just gonna be sticking with the idea, as it's gonna be a specialty there for the Aztecs, for them. But yeah. It seems like it's gonna be the units. We have advanced fortifications. Fortress-like buildings, damage. Wow, plus 50% damage for them. Okay, that's a new upgrade, right? Damage vulnerability to hack minus 10% of current. That's not entirely as much. Because it's gonna be legitimately adding like 5%. Not more. Not much more. Because of how it works in Age of Mythology. And the myth unit on water is gonna be, yeah, Axolotl, of course. Or Axolotl, again, it's gonna be like Axolotl, right? I think it's sure supposed to be. I'm just gonna wait to use the Czech pronunciations of all these things. So, Axolotl, let's gonna maybe try to remember that. For me, can summon shields to heal allies. So that's what we saw on the picture. And crush enemy ships to regenerate hit points. Good against ships and buildings. We were having some kind of like abilities in Retold. On water like that. Regenerating HP based on damage and stuff and something. The shields on allies is kinda cool though. Obviously that's gonna be interesting to see if people are gonna be finally turning that onto manual and they're gonna be doing it basically something like a sun shield. And or maybe just gonna leaving it automatic, which is not gonna be entirely too useful. I wonder what kind of AI it's going to be having, if it's gonna be primarily targeting boats that are almost kind of like dead, having some low hit points, or if it's just gonna be completely random. Axolotl, Axolotl mutant, okay. Amphibious naval. Apparently they don't have too many myth units on the water there. Seems like. Naval myth unit, durable and highly lethal sea monster that deals immense crushing and poison damage. But much more importantly, it's amphibious. So therefore, another civilization, same as Chinese, where you always want to be making a dock in the mythical age, because you're gonna be getting a myth unit from that. And it's gonna be usable also on the land. It's gonna be in extra siege weapons, practically. Okay then. No, I'm thinking it's gonna be probably all for the specialties here, right? That fortified EC architects, the standard upgrades are. Wait a second, we're missing actually flat control. That's curious. Or do we have something else against that? Tlalocs. Okay, that's right now gonna be special upgrade from the god. Tlalocs Mountain of Sustenance as well. Interesting. So we have therefore Plow, plus 10%. And then you have Chinampas. And that's past 20% though. So is that gonna be flat control in... cause... No, yeah, that's gonna be actually flat control age earlier. I was thinking it's all 10. Okay, that's curious. 200, but also it's pretty expensive, by the way. 250 and 300. So yeah, that's an interesting dynamic. Theoretically making them stronger in the heroic age if they stay there a bit longer. Because I mean, like, being able to afford this after some kind of faster heroic is not entirely impossible, I guess. It's gonna be very important to realize in build orders, especially for team games. So you're just gonna be having to count the return on investment on this. And therefore if it's gonna be worthwhile to invest into it, because it's practically cost of a TC. Interesting. Now that reminds me, what is actually TC costing? Classic 350, okay. 350 each. Drop side, of course, and yes. Yeah, just right now, how is it called? Kalpuli. Oh, they couldn't be, of course, calling it settlement as it is in Age of Empires 2 in the latest DLC, because we have settlements, something else in the game. But Kalpuli, deposit food, wood, gold, they have gathered, so all of it together. And it's costing 75. Oh, it's a bit more expensive, but it's of course for all the resources, so I guess probably gonna be somewhat understandable. Dock is right now at Hundo, and the walls, we have just a second level, just a stone wall. So that's like north, right? Yeah. Okay, so just a stone wall here. Plus 100% base and 200 to 200. And that's gonna be, yeah, the same. Absolutely the same in here. I can say now there's of course some kind of diversification in there. It seems like for the Kalpuli. So you have livestock pen, increases food drop off to the Kalpuli by 15%. Periodically spawns livestock as food is deposited. Can only have one of the Kalpuli type. Oh, that's interesting. So therefore you're gonna be having general drop-off point, but based on the resource you are working on, you can actually make it better. Increases food drop-off Kalpuli by 15 as well. Okay, so yes, food, wood, and it's a projectile attack and garrison space for 5 units. That's very good. That's very nice actually, right about now, the lumber outpost. That depends what is the general gathering rate for the soldiers, or for the villages, sorry. That depends. If they're gonna be way lower than the normal villages, then it's gonna be having some consequences. If it's gonna be the same, maybe lumber outpost is gonna be interesting even on the forward hunt, for example. And craft workshop increases gold dropped off by 15%. Converting 10% of other resource types dropped off at this Kalpuli to gold. Wow, they're not making it easy for people to actually think up build orders for this. No, that's gonna be certainly opening some opportunities here. I wonder if this is gonna be also working for teammates. If teammate is gonna be putting resources in, if it's gonna be converting also his. If that's gonna be a possibility. Because I mean, like, you can get the resources into TCs. Probably not into those spots, so would have to be some kind of novelty, so probably not. Into TCs you can. Okay, quite plenty of new ideas there for in here. Where is the trade, by the way? Wanted to be looking at that again. And there maybe isn't some kind of special idea. Where was it? I'm just completely blind. No, seriously, where is the market? Oh, there, okay. Man, just kinda like looking for it and not finding it. But nonetheless, Konich is there. I was kinda wondering if they're gonna be having something different or not, but classic. Nothing entirely too specific on that front. So I'm thinking that's gonna be maybe it, right? Nothing too otherwise. Just kinda looks like it also we're gonna be having only one version of the tower. We don't have any kind of the ones like, for example, Egyptians going through ballista and things. That evidently also isn't going to be anything here. Classic, classic, all three. Yeah, so that's probably gonna be the general tech tree from what I can see here. Okay, so let's go there for the main gods themselves, so that I can learn what they're gonna be doing. So Huitzilopochtli, Lord of War and the Sun. So focus, conquest and expansion, temples, great temples and village and town centers. Refund 33% of their cost upon completion. Well, that's just a lazy actually idea. Yeah, again, this is like basically the same as putting discount at the start. Obviously, that's just like a bit of a delay on the time in there, but nonetheless, it's just like the same, just wording it a bit differently. No, nonetheless, again, somewhat out of ideas. But what is it gonna be there for meaning? So that therefore means that you can right now potentially put in temple still early. You're gonna be getting the resources back for the advance after anyway. Back into your coffers. I mean, like, doesn't entirely change much with something like a fortress. So the Great Temple with the castle. It's not like a problem. Temple, I'm not entirely thinking that's gonna be changing too much. You're just gonna be getting the resources, gonna refund it after for... Like, maybe depends if there are gonna be some useful upgrades. You can be there for upgrading after if there's gonna be some synergy with that. And the village and town centers, especially, no, village centers, nobody makes them too much. But town centers, refunding upon completion, you're gonna be getting back wood and gold. Theoretically, there might be some kind of like a sequence in team, especially in team games, maybe into like a third TC. That you're gonna be getting third of them back, and you're gonna be able to quickly get another one after. So like maybe some kind of sequencing could be a possibility, but hard to see how this could be properly utilized. It just complicates build orders, that's what it does. Making them very specific. But like an immediate bonus, we'll see what people will be figuring out. Don't entirely have an idea right now off the top of my head. And collect, besides the potential like cycling and chaining things together. And collecting tonally earns resources in addition to favor equal to 5% of the defeated unit's cost. Okay, so tonally is the, that's kind of like the, I don't know, life force. It's practically like a favor that you get from, and you get it from like killing units, right? And also sacrificing units. So basically from both, if I'm not mistaken. You can also potentially sacrifice villages to get some extra boost of favor. In addition to favor, you have 5% of the defeated units cost. So if you're gonna be thinking, for example, villager, then 5%, that's gonna be what, 2.5 therefore? No, 2.5 food. Okay, that's not entirely too much, right? It's gonna be a lot more interesting for the high cost units potential later in the late game. This is gonna be really good in late game. In the early game, not sure if it's gonna be having enough of a effect. But late game, this could legitimately be like a bit of a partial replacement of economy. This could be interesting. This might be having some curious consequences for the gameplay. But really, something that people will be having to learn to play with and about and around. And shorn ones have plus 10% hit points and generate 100% more tonally in combat. Shorn ones, that's the ones here. Yeah. Okay, that's a heroic age bonus. And like a specialty heroic age bonus in the earliest and having to build a great temple for that. Elite counter infantry. No. That seems a bit complicated maybe. And hard to properly see in action. In 1v1. No, so what are that now the special powers at this point and upgrades for him? Blood Pact. Target any unit that's got power. To grant it immense power for a short duration, when the effect ends, the unit dies, granting you favor. Any unit, so therefore also the enemy. That's power overwhelming. That's power overwhelming from Warlock in Hearthstone. And I guess therefore also in World of Warcraft maybe. Not sure. But nonetheless, I'm thinking this is gonna be more used to get rid of enemy strong units. If it's gonna be usable, for example, on myth units, then that's gonna be a way to get rid of them. I'm just gonna discover them somewhere, kind of like off the path. And if it's gonna be lasting, I don't know, half a minute maybe, 20 seconds, depends what kind of boost it is. Again, I'll be of course loving to be having a bit more information in the tech tree. But yes, that is something of course that does have some interesting potential. For the attacking strength, it kind of feels like it might be really powerful for something like the siege guys here. Because it's also any unit, it's gonna be probably also on the myth units. So just gonna imagine you're gonna be having the Quina Medicine. And he's gonna be there for just like, I don't know, assault in a TC. And you're gonna be boosting him by that. Not expecting him to survive anyway. This could be actually having interesting synergy, for example, with Kronos faster heroic into the behemoths. And you're gonna be buffing the behemoth. Maybe it could be working also with Cyclopes, with Ares and Greeks. This might be interesting synergy. Might be the good synergies here. Interesting god power. And special ability or upgrade, Wings of the South. Increasing the movement speed and training rate of all Warhut units. Movement speed plus 10%, that's pretty damn good. So basically something like Empyrean speed from Oranos. And train time minus 40%. That's pretty good. That feels really strong though. If classical age fight is gonna be a thing here with the Aztecs, this looks really good. No, so what are gonna be the gods? So first one, Tezcatlipoca, god of healing, fertility, and pulque. What is pulque? Focus, settlers, and heal. Okay, so I'm gonna be having to figure out what is pulque. Because that is piquing my interest. Some kind of drink. No, I can imagine that it's gonna be, alright. Alcoholic beverage from agave. Yeah, well, could have figured that's gonna be something like this. Okay. And he's gonna be having good power. Agave bloom. Target the location to spawn a sacred agave. Gather it for food or let its sacred energy heal your nearby units. Guess sure. So I wonder if it's gonna be there for decaying in time. Because otherwise it would be like a healing spring, right? But I'm thinking it's probably not gonna be that. So I'm imagining it's gonna be decaying. It's just gonna be like timed or something. Extra food. So therefore something like a dwarven mine to a certain degree with a bonus. Then we're gonna be having the Kenstone. Oh, sorry. Kenstone Totochtin. That's gonna be there for the rabbits. A group of rabbits which grow in numbers by fighting, eating farms or berry bushes. Good against human soldiers. Okay. I'm just kind of looking forward if maybe that could be used therefore for legitimately destroying the enemy farms. That could be kind of interesting because I mean like we were having the Wither and so far I don't think it's actually been used for that too much. But maybe these guys could be used for that. There are some kind of early farm builds for Egyptians. So maybe this could be an interesting counter to those. You'll be just kind of destroying them with that. Growing in numbers by fighting. No, they're just gonna be based on damage dealt. They're just gonna be multiplying. I'm expecting they're gonna be otherwise kind of weaker. So maybe not entirely too many hit points. So they're not gonna be like too easily overwhelming the enemy. Of course, very important is going to be because they are eating farms and berry bushes. So that definitely means you're gonna be able to buff them up. You're just gonna be finding berry bushes somewhere. I wonder if it's gonna be working also on animals on the map. And well, you're just gonna be there for having something like the hydras that were getting extra heads from eating animals. And you're gonna be having a group of rabbits pretty quickly even from the first one. That might be the play, right? Just gonna, before you even engage in the fight, you're just gonna send them grazing. And then you're gonna be having, I don't know, 6-7 of them, and then you're gonna be using them for the fight. Feels like an idea. Ometočtli's Revelry. Tezcatlipoca upgrades Kenstone Totochtin to Frenzied Kenstone, and which have more hit points and consume farms and berry bushes faster to heal. More hit points and consume farms and berry bushes faster to heal. Okay, that's a bit confusing. So hit points, yes. Eat work rate for farm 50 and 50. Because at this point this is a counterintuitive bit. Because this seems to be suggesting that eating farms and berry bushes is also meaning they're gonna be growing in numbers. But this seems to be going that they only heal because of that. So like the Colossus mechanism. Yeah, that's a bit confusing. So maybe it's gonna be working differently than it seems to be saying. Oktapli infusions reveals the medicinal secrets of Oktapli roots, fortifying settlers and human soldiers with regeneration and increased hit points. 10% HP for every soldier already in classical age. Wow, that's OP. That is a straight OP upgrade. 20 favor, bit higher cost, but not definitely unheard of. Other good powers and other actually abilities and upgrades are costing similar in the classical age. Human soldiers 0.25 to regeneration rate. So that basically means you're gonna be getting what, 2.5, 3, 7.5 hit points per minute. Or per minute. No. 7.5, so basically 15 per minute. That's pretty nice. This is an OP upgrade. This is legit OP. Because if you're gonna be raiding carefully in the early stages, you're gonna be usually able to accumulate quite some idle time between the raids. And getting really 15 per minute. That's gonna be fifth of the hit points, quarter of the hit points. Probably fifth, somewhere along those lines. That's a lot. This is very good. This is a very good upgrade. This is, I think, almost like a must, frankly, looks to me so far. Then we do have Magway Cultivation. Tezcatlipoca introduces Magway Cultivation, increasing settler farming rates and granting a food bounty when farms are constructed. Okay, so that's basically what we have with Polish in AoE2. Add it in and get a work rate plus 10%, and you get 25 food on construction of a farm. Oh, well, the food on the construction of the farm is obviously not like super huge. Not sure that's gonna be allowing some early farm builds. That remains to be seen. However, what it could mean is in team games building farms for your teammates. And you're gonna be getting the food from that. Maybe that's where it could be finding some use. Same as, for example, you would be building farms for Atlanteans so that they don't spend the high wood. This might be actually interesting in that order, if you want to play that way. So, oh well, Malinalxochitl, goddess of snakes, scorpions, and black magic. Focus poison and curses. So infestation. What do we have? Target location to summon an infested nest that periodically spawns scorpions that obey your commands. Well, we actually were correct. And we were looking at the scorpions on that picture and on the screenshot like a month ago, and we were kind of speculating because they were very small that it's gonna be something like snakes, and it actually is true. But you can control them. That's interesting. Target location, summon infested nest. Periodically spawn scorpions that obey your commands. I guess it's gonna be also time limited, probably. Would be thinking just the nest. Maybe the units are gonna be staying there, the same as the snakes. No, but the fact that you can control them is pretty good. That is pretty nice, and that's kind of new in classical age, right? Because otherwise you have ancestors in the heroic age, then the new dead things from Demeter, they are mythical age. Interesting. Quetzalcoatl. Twin-headed serpent on each side, apparently. And that poisons and scorches enemies. Good against human soldiers. No, guess, well, it's gonna be there for doing the 2 times of damage, sorry. 160 wood and 14 favor. It's gonna be maybe on the cheaper side or more affordable side. Interesting. Omen of Malinalco. Okay, causes them to release a poisonous cloud on death that damages nearby enemies. So something like, and corrodes their armor, making them more vulnerable to attacks. So that's something like the Death of Scarab. And you're gonna be also destroying the armor. 10 divine damage in 4 radius. And reduces hack and pierce armor by minus 15%. And deals 1.5 damage, what is it? 1.5 divine damage per second for 6 seconds, so basically 9 further. So 19 damage you're gonna be dealing. 19 divine damage in classical age, not terrible. But reducing the hack and pierce armor by minus 15%, that's something that might be finding good use. It's kind of like maybe even in the late game. You're just gonna be sending them as basically some nukes, and you're gonna be destroying them on purpose in specific places, in specific groupings of armies. Might not be too bad. might not be necessarily too bad. I really wonder how it's gonna be working. If it's gonna be minus 15% of right now what they have, so theoretically it would be more useful in late game, or if it's gonna be minus 15% from like the basis. That's like anybody's guess. If it's gonna be within the game's maintenance, then we'll be thinking that maybe the latter. It's gonna be also easier to implement. Sting of Japan. Well, we are doing a bit of yapping in here. Grants your warhead soldiers the sting of the scorpion. Okay, so serpent spear kind of. Their attacks to inflict poison damage over time. They really are enamored with the poison. I mean, like it's making sense with the jungles in there, but in reality it's not much different to like a classic divine damage edit. But nonetheless it's something different at least, so that's cool. And 0.1 divine damage over time towards unit for 6 seconds, so it's gonna be there for what? 0.6. It's not entirely as much it feels like. And 0.1 for the archer. That's... Am I reading it wrong? This seems to be really low. I mean, like you're just doing legitimately 0.6 divine damage. That has to be something different there. Over time towards units for 6 seconds. Yeah, I don't get this. This feels either completely useless, or there's gonna be something I'm not getting about this. I'm gonna be betting that it's the latter, that therefore there's something extra to this, because otherwise it doesn't make sense. I mean, like, what is Serpent Spear? How is it worded in there? You add 0.75. No, can't say that. Inflicts additional 0.75 divine damage over 6 seconds to hit units, except siege weapons. So Spearman add blah 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 on. Okay, so maybe there's just like a different wording. All right, that's gonna be 0.75 per 6 seconds. So basically this is total. And here, yeah, so it's gonna be kind of similar. And pretty much the same as the Serpent Spear then. Divine damage over time towards... Yeah, I'm still not... I mean, like, if it's gonna be right now the bottom, so therefore that should be from Logis information. I don't know. It's gonna be therefore the same as Serpent Spear. At least that's what we can right now glean from this. But since it's gonna be also on the archers, I guess it's gonna be some kind of bonus. Toloache Trance. So imbues your warriors' weapons with the effect of Toloache, numbing the minds of enemies with every strike, slowing their attack speed. Reduce unit attack speed by 2% for 5 seconds. Stacking. No, this could be really good on archers though. Because I mean, like, imagine if you're gonna be having, I don't know, 15 archers, and they're gonna be all at once, and if it's not gonna be kept, usually the things are kept at about 20% in this game, so maybe it's all missing here. But if it would be like 30% reduction of the attack speed, still maybe not entirely super OP. It is interesting. It's maybe kind of worthwhile some testing, if there will be some interesting combination for this. A curious one. No, and for the heroic age, we are therefore having Quetzalcoatl, Mother Goddess of the Earth, and she focuses buildings and siege. Earth monster, target location to summon Tezcatlipoca, the Earth monster. It erupts from the ground repeatedly to swallow groups of units, trapping them underground before regurgitating as survivors. So kind of like an opposite of kind of like the Shockwave series that you have for the Japanese. Or the Thunderburst, kind of like the opposite of that, feels like. This is gonna be really useful against archer groups. You're just gonna be instantly able to disrupt archer groups in there. I think this is maybe gonna be one of the important use cases. It's also a location though, a specific one. So again, it's gonna be blocking possible choke points, and well, that's usually also, of course, where also archers are gonna be hiding. So from that point of view, it feels like it may be, again, I'm liking these kind of tactical god powers where you have to be thinking where to use them and what kind of position. But it has to be said that so far I haven't seen players entirely being maybe of the same mind as far as getting better at using the god powers in such a fashion. But yeah, that's not entirely too bad. No, and Huitzilopochtli. Turtle rabbit. What? Turtle rabbit. Mythical creature which embodies... It's like an armadillo, so what is like a turtle rabbit? Did they call them like turtle rabbits? Armadillos, maybe? But mythical creature which embodies balance between opposites. Good against buildings. Yeah, that's gonna be, I guess, therefore, that's where the turtle rabbit comes from the opposites, then the speed and the slowness. I've seen, by the way, not sure if you have seen it, the funny clip of that. I think it was on Boys Discord. I've seen it posted. Let me maybe see if I can show it to you. That was way too good, actually. Okay, give me a sec to prepare it for you properly. So watch the armadillos to the top, especially this 1 second. Well, it did want to be pathing against that one specific villager. And so therefore the only path, it wasn't through the walls, it was just gonna through and around the forest in there. I think that's probably gonna have to be fixed a bit. Because this could be actually quite interesting abused for such a kind of way of working. So I'm fairly certain this will have to be fixed somehow. But we might be seeing some kind of funny moments of that. So thank you very much for actually posting it on the boys Discord in here. That was posted by Matador. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, Matador was posting it. He was actually the one getting it in the game in there. So yes, they apparently are having some fun parts to them currently. No, and for Serpent Skirt, Quetzalcoatl summons anacondas from your destroyed buildings to defend the area. Alright, so different militiamen. Spawn 2 anacondas upon death, 3 for large buildings, and 6 for... No, well, yeah, that's literally militiamen. They spawn this way as well, right? Or at least very similarly. Depends how strong they are, but... No, I guess that's an upgrade that why not to get it, I guess. Not too expensive. That it would be like some super actually need to be getting that, I would be thinking so. So, not sure if it's gonna be too much of a focus. Coatepec Shrines. Coatlicue removes the cost of repairing buildings and allows them to regenerate hit points. Holy damn, really? For 25 favor and 150 wood. You get no repairs cost? Nah, that's way too broken. Unless it's gonna be meaning basically that you cannot repair. That's what I would be understanding. That you cannot repair anymore, but you would be getting regeneration. That would make sense. But 3 repairs for this? No, that seems way too good. That seems very good indeed. Yeah, that feels OP. That in my mind feels very OP, this one. 2.5 regenerate is not too impressive for buildings. That's what, 60 to 25, that's gonna be 150 hit points per minute. I mean, like, it's not weak, but wouldn't be overestimating it. It's gonna be very good for the cases like, for example, what we have seen today, the TC being almost destroyed and players just cannot repairing it. That's gonna be very helpful for especially town centers. This is gonna be nice, but yeah, this is extremely good. This feels very good indeed. String of Hearts, Coatlicue's necklace of dismembered hands and hearts. Damn, compels human soldiers to inflict damage, especially crush, making them more effective against buildings. So what are we at? 1 melee, 1 range into crush. No, 1 crush is not too impressive. And 1 to jump attack damage. Okay. And all actions damage type plus 10%. No, the basically extra damage is very nice, 10% for everything. One extra crash, not again feeling too super impressive. At the same time, not terrible. For example, this might be interesting for like archers maybe. They usually benefit rather well from any kind of little bonuses like these. Who remembers obsidian arrows for Mayans, for example, in Age of Empires 2? Legitimately small bonus and makes a difference in those death balls. The general attack is quite nice though. Cost very high though, 300 food. Feels like that might be a bit of a later upgrade than an early one. And Quetzalcoatl's scales increases the armor of Atlatl siege canoes as they lose hit point. Oh, well, yeah, upgrades on water, that just like always has been irrelevant in AOM. Retold hasn't changed anything in that too much. Sometimes you're gonna be seeing some fancy players actually doing them, but then it would be like a major focus, not as much. You would have to be having completely different maps for maybe that to be forced upon players. But yeah, some bonus on true canoes therefore. And we do have otherwise, it's Papalotl. Oh, that's the butterfly here. Goddess of War and Obsidian. Focuses on Tonale and nobles hut soldiers. So what does she have? Purge. Target an enemy military unit to mark it for sacrifice. The unit is suspended in the air and after a short delay, all nearby enemies of the same type are destroyed. Excuse me. Now that is a crazy good power. And that is a heroic age good power, really. No, first what I can imagine that recasting this good power has to be cast in like 200 favor. That has to be really expensive. That will be probably one of the most expensive heroic age good powers to be recast. That is really damn broken. I mean, like, this is gonna be the problem. This is gonna be even better for Retold than it would have been, of course, in the original, because once you're gonna be having the huge pop limits, then this is gonna be having even more of an effect. And this is gonna be absolutely completely broken on something like an Atlantean Massin de Kontari. Imagine he's gonna be having army of Kontari, or for example Egyptian having army of, I don't know, 20-30 camels, and you're just gonna be casting this and immediately annihilate it. Especially Atlanteans are gonna be sad from that. The Egyptians usually can replace the units kind of okay. Kind of okay, not simply not as a challenge. But I think that Atlanteans will be very disappointed with this good power. Nah, this is straight broken as well. This is so far the most kind of like, don't want to say necessarily absurd, but extremely good thing that we have seen so far here. And it doesn't entirely matter that it's only within range. It kind of depends what's gonna be the delay, yes. Considering that usually the delays are pretty long in the game, that might be the saving grace in there. That the horses will be able to disperse quickly enough. Maybe. At that point though, you're just gonna talking, maybe you're just gonna be having the two extremes. Either it's gonna be really damn useful, or it's gonna be completely useless because the units are gonna be able to run away. So theoretically, again, depends what's the range and whatnot. Maybe it's gonna be only against something like archers that are slow enough. So yeah, if it's gonna be, again, having some escape time, which I really wholeheartedly dislike what they have done with the god powers on Retold. I think it's completely counterintuitive and counter the idea of what the god powers are supposed to be. You are not supposed to be running away from the god powers. It's like absolute misunderstanding of what the game is, and always has been designed as. But yeah, so this is theoretically extremely powerful, or meh, as Mephiston is saying, if you're able to escape from it. This one is gonna be therefore hard to balance, because the kind of like difference and distance between those two is gonna be very, very small. But the idea itself, no, they went really far there. So Obsidian Butterfly, with unit spins to inflict tremendous bleed damage to nearby enemies, pulling them in and expelling them. Can hover over water. Oh, now look at the synergy though here, right? Because you're gonna be using the Obsidian Butterfly, you're gonna be hugging the units in with a special attack. And before that you cast the Purge. So you're basically gonna be, this is the combo, right? You use the God Power, you use the Obsidian Butterfly that's gonna be sucking the units in and they cannot escape, and then you go. That's an actually, if that's what they had in mind, that's a smart one. That's a nice combo. Tremendous bleed damage, it's gonna be kinda... No, without the bleed, kinda feels similar to Stimfolians slightly. It depends on how it's gonna be working with the spin, but yes. Feels like you're gonna be wanting to be having there for butterflies with this god power, and that potentially can be eliminating like the full army if you cast it and do it well. So therefore another myth unit you're gonna be wanting to use the power manually, not automatically. Huh, interesting mechanism though. Wings of Huitzilopochtli sharpens the wings, increasing their movement, speed, bleed and special attack damage. Charged melee attack damage plus, okay, 50%. And speed plus 15%. Ah well. Classic bonuses, I guess. Obsidian Kneppin, or Neppin, I guess. Teaches the art of Obsidian Neppin, increasing the attack of units trained at the noble's hut. Classic, plus 15%. That's pretty cheap for 15%. Well, really the cost is just the favor. 150 gold is nothing. Yeah, this is an easy upgrade to get then, and pretty good. Flowery Wars. What is that supposed to be? Lightning? Hunger for tribute increases... Yeah, that's supposed to be lightning as a favor. The tribute increases the favor earned from gathering tonali of fallen foes. .2 favor to military bounty earn in reward. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea what kind of like a speed you have with gathering the favor in here, so that's something I'm gonna be having to get a feeling for in the game still, and how they work. And Shards of Huitzilopochtli stats arrow cannons with her obsidian arrows, with her obsidian increasing their attack. Sure. Again, water upgrades, no. So Tlaloc, God of Storms, Rain and Maze. Focus on, what is it? Economy and Great Temples. So Pillar of Tlalocan. Target the location to call down the pillar, obliterating fortifications on impact. So basically like a undermine, so obliterating literally, so no damage but straight destroy. So fortifications, so that's gonna be fortresses, walls, towers, I guess not TCs. The statue remains to defend the area with water strikes until destroyed. So basically it becomes some kind of strong tower. Huh. Well, depends what kind of attack it has. But obliterating fortification on impact is somewhat useful. That can be seen some kind of use case. Like getting rid of some Migdol stronghold on a gold, for example. It's gonna be interesting on instantly overturning ownership of a certain position on the map. Probably gonna be easy to recast. Will be probably cheap. Okay. Not sure if it's kinda worth it to be Mythical Age, but remains to be seen how powerful the attack is after, how many hit points it, for example, has. Feels maybe... I almost wanted to say that it should be kinda turned around, maybe. But maybe I'm gonna be wrong. So Huitzilopochtli has the rat with hand for tail. Myth unit, stealthy amphibious guardian that can strike from a distance with its long tail, dealing immense damage and stunning targets. Okay, so another stun. Good against human soldiers. And some kind of bigger range for the attack. Amphibious is also interesting. So therefore useful for maps like Water in Holland, Marsh, I guess. Pretty expensive, 28 favor. It's really high, especially for Retold. So, no. I guess it's probably gonna be fairly powerful on the statistics. I mean, like the favor is pretty high, as I said. No, nonetheless, Burnt Water. Tlaloc strengthens your fortifications, increasing their hit points and allowing them to attack units beneath them with Sacred Fire Water. Yes, so basically, okay, some increased boiling oil. Enables melee attack action. No, it's basically boiling oil then. And buildings that shoot hit points plus 25. Wait a second. Yeah, they don't have... Oh, boiling oil, that's in the fortress, isn't it? They don't have boiling oil. Do they? New fire ceremony. That's actually something new unless it's for some kind of other god. I'm gonna be having to also recheck if there are some upgrades that I haven't entirely noticed before. Yeah. Seems like it's gonna be basically just the burnt water in here. So that's replacement for boiling oil. Interesting. Interesting. You just have to be having there for a god for that. Curioso. And for the further ones, Tlalocs. Tlaloc sends the Tlalocs to assist your people, significantly reducing the cost and research time of Calpuli improvements, and granting 100 gold for each Calpuli research completed. Yeah, Calpuli, that's there for the gathering building. So you're getting which discounts? Food cost tax, 90%. Gold, favor. Research rate quick. So basically Forge of Olympus but on economical upgrades. That's a thought. That is a good thought. That hasn't been here before, so sure. That can be certainly seen some kind of use. Some kind of faster mythic there for that. Tezcatlipoca. That's going to be Mountain of Sustenance inspires settlers near livestock pens to gather food faster, especially from animals. Farm, huntables, herdables. No, well, huntables, herdables are gonna be kind of irrelevant, right? So 15% on true farms. Not too expensive upgrade for a late game. So nice little bonus. And 4 jars. Abundance from its jars, reducing the cost of great temples and allowing them to support population limit. So minus 20% on the cost. Okay, so how much do they cost? Classic 300. Yes, classic 300. 8 favor only. Look at that. But yes, therefore 60 less. And we are going to be increasing population cap by 1. Really? I wanted to tell me that actually you're gonna be having 1 castle and it's gonna be adding you 1 extra population limit. That has to be wrong. Because that's useless. Okay, I'm not entirely getting that upgrade therefore too much. Like legitimately 1 pop limit for a castle? Plus no. I don't know. That's weird to me. Maybe there's something more to it, but that seems wrong. But Tezcatlipoca. Wow, that's a name. Tezcatlipoca. Okay, God of the Dead and Underworld. Focus is going to be on warrior priests and death. So something like Nephthys, but in the last age. So we are going to be having volcano. Target a location to raise a mighty volcano. Obliterates buildings as it rises and bombards the surrounding area with molten rock. Alright. Okay then, so somewhat of a combination. Like if you remember, for example, the Earth Dragon, it used to be a thing on extended edition for Chinese. So this one is gonna be against buildings kind of and combined with some meteors. And it's basically like similar to Pillar of Tlalocan here. Just this definitely has like a feeling that it's gonna be way more powerful than the Pillar. Like the comparison of those two god powers is kind of weird to me. It's gonna be really interesting though, base destroyer. I wonder if it can be cast under a TC though. Usually not too many things can be actually cast on specifically that point on the game. Because if you could be casting it into the main base, you probably could be with the extra meteors able to destroy plenty of houses as well. Huh. No, interesting god power, no less. Tunkuluchu. Oh, that's the owl, right? Towering owl-like creature that marks enemies for death, increasing tonally earned and reducing their hit points. Good against human soldiers. Right, so basically cursing the enemy. Depends if it's like a percentage hit point reduction. If it's gonna be percentage-wise, you're gonna be wanting to target, of course, something like cavalry and stuff. Having millions of HP. And it marks enemies. So therefore it's gonna be probably working also on myth units. And that's also where you're gonna be wanting to therefore target it, I guess. So if you're gonna be having the time and opportunity to micro, then seems like there's something to it. Necklace of eyeballs. Adorns Tezcatlipoca. What is Tezcatlipoca? It's one of the units, or what is it? No, it's not, right? What is Tezcatlipoca? Okay, so I'm at a loss. What is that actually supposed to be? Okay, Tezcatlipoca, I have therefore no idea what it is. If it's gonna be maybe some kind of myth unit for some of the others, you're gonna be probably coming back to it. But yeah, so far not any kind of idea. But almost looks like that it might be something like that, considering what it's doing. Or is it a tower? Wait a second. No, that's Zompantli. Close enough, I guess, but still not it. Huh. Okay, no, whatever. Then, Omen of Death. Causes Tezcatlipoca. They're just like Tezcatlipoca. Is it supposed to be this? Because usually you're getting some bonuses to the myth units, right? Of the god. So is there some kind of different name? Causes Tezcatlipoca to call down a strike from the heavens when defeated. Or is it the priest? No, they're just like warrior priest. Oh, well, gonna be having to figure it out somewhere down the line. But call down a strike from the heavens when defeated, damaging nearby enemies. On death, inflict 40 hack damage and throw enemies in 5 radius. That's not entirely too bad damage. 40. That's an extra. But it almost looks like it maybe that's gonna be there for the name of the priest or something. I mean, like it has to be, right? Because warrior priest and that, yeah, that has to be Tezcatlipoca are the priests. That's gonna be the priest, just like inconsistency that they don't have the name in here. But yes, that's gonna be these guys. Yeah. Good. Now I understand. They just need to be maybe making it a bit clearer, but yeah, we got it. So therefore maybe some interesting priest strategies for the late game. They're just gonna be making some nukes of them. Well, remember the dryads, they have been nerfed out. You cannot be shifting sending them anymore in the tree form in this patch. And now you're gonna be adding something new here. Oh well, maybe. Interesting combo for the team games therefore maybe. With shifting sense Egyptians. So precious bones. Empowers your ranged soldiers, which increase their damage and compensates you with wood. They fall in battle. When they fall in battle, I guess. Resources returned on death 15 wood and all actions damage plus 15%. Random upgrade, I guess. Don't have too much of an opinion. The increase in the damage is probably gonna be the more important piece of it. And last one, Mikteka. Imbues shorn ones with the chill of the underworld, enabling them to slay enemies more quickly, especially heroes. Huh. That's interesting bonus. All actions damage plus 20%. Cost fairly high though. And adds half against heroes. Not bad. That's gonna be now the big boys. I'm really curious about these because they have some interesting bonuses to them. But if it's gonna be really just something like Fanatic, there are definitely ways how to block them and counter them. We'll see. What is this, by the way? Heavy Great Temple Soldiers. Yes, and this is gonna be just the champion Great Temple Soldiers. Sure. Just bonus. Statistics and things upon them. Okay, so that's gonna be there for the first variant and the first god. No, and now let's have a look at the other boy. That's gonna be there for Tezcatlipoca. God of Obsidian, Darkness, and Sorcery. Defense and myth units. Every 2 myth units lost spawn an Obsidian shard. It's having some kind of deja vu at this point from Hearthstone, sharding and everything. If the shards survives long enough, it summons a free myth unit of the current age. Yeah, so that's gonna be with like what we have with the Kamaitachi on Amaterasu. Every 2 myth units spawn an obsidian shard. Does he have... Yeah, I was kinda hoping that maybe it's gonna be having the rabbits, but nah, doesn't have the combination in there. Probably for a good reason. Someone's a free myth unit of the current age, so it's gonna be something like the Shannon. You just get like a random spawn therefore, huh? No, curious bonus. But if there's gonna be some synergy, especially in the classic age with something that you can be getting plenty of and it dies a lot, might be interesting. Zompantli towers and traps are built 25% faster and inflict plus quarter damage extra. Alright, so something like a safeguard. Towers and traps. Wait a second. The traps, that's something I actually haven't seen entirely yet. So that's gonna be like a special ability of some units, I imagine. Entirely certain if it's directly here in the tech tree, or if it's gonna be simply just like on the units. This one? Yeah, okay, so this is actually what I didn't see. I was kinda thinking it's gonna be some upgrade, but we therefore can be doing smoke trap, build limit 6. When triggered, this is important that I actually missed that. Greatly reduce enemy visibility of affected units in the area. Max 6 traps. 2020. 20-second build time is long though. That build time slightly what bothers me. Because that's 2020 cost, and on top of it, it's costing 20 extra resources because of the villager time you're gonna be using on it, plus some walk time, so probably a bit more. And reducing vision. Is that gonna be therefore meaning that if you position it in a certain distance from gold mine, for example, or beyond wood line, that means that the opponents cannot be shooting at you from the distance? I'm gonna be assuming that's gonna be a yes. At which point, it's a very interesting defensive thing, especially for the early stages, therefore. Then Spike Trap, when triggered, greatly damage nearby enemies, max 6 traps. Okay. 100 wood again, fairly high costs. I guess they're gonna be probably, therefore, supposed to be good, considering the costs there. And in the Heroic Age, you are going to be getting advanced ones. Obsidian spike traps, increased damage, and smoke traps to chili bomb traps, greater blinding and slowing effect. Enemy speed reduced to 70%, vision reduced to 20%. That vision reduction is very important actually. Maybe it doesn't seem so, but that will be. But nonetheless, feels kinda expensive, so I'm not entirely certain how they're gonna be working, but better be longer lasting. And devoting settlers, grants plus 10, 20, 30, 40 more favor per age. Plus 40% more favor in the mythical age, really. That scaling seems kinda high. But okay. And therefore we're gonna be having the new god for the classical age, Quetzalcoatl. Again, tournament host for Age of Empires 2 for quite a few years. Lullaby. Target a group of enemies to put them to sleep. Any damage dealt to sleeping units will wake them up immediately. Yeah, that's a good power. Something similar to the invisibility practically that we have for the Chinese. That's not entirely as often used, because it's usually kind of complicated to use it and the other option is nice. But this could be nice as well. Will be definitely like an insta protection against raids. That's where I'm thinking and feeling is gonna be its major use. But especially with the slow and with the kind of small amount of armies in the early game, it might be having plenty of use cases, like even defending TC, for example. Like you build a second TC, army comes in, you sleep them, you're done. This is really good. This is very strong. Does have plenty of use cases that are gonna be great. Focus traps and stealth, by the way. So Chaneke, or Chaneke rather. Small beam shooting creature that transitions into stationary turret with higher attack defense, and range. Good against human soldiers. Transitions, as in you can therefore turn them back, or is it like a RecoN? And it cannot be going back without upgrade. Old Coyote Spirit, Chanekes to get last laugh, increasing their heck armor and giving them a chance to spawn a trap when defeated. Sure, I guess. Okay, so it's just, so far at this point seems like it maybe it's gonna be at will. You can just gonna turn them between those two. Maybe. If they, it's gonna be useful because you can potentially block path with them if you turn them in a certain spot into the kind of like the tower-like. Maybe that's also where they're gonna be having a use. Kuika Kali training. Choreographs Coyote runners to move with unpredictable steps, improving their pierce armor. I wonder if it's gonna be also visible on the battlefield. That they're just gonna be making... It's kinda like the Dune, right? The Dune, the walk. So that you don't provoke the worms, the shy huluts. Feels very similar. Maybe that's where the inspiration came from. Vulnerability to pierce minus 15%, not bad. Teponastli drums. Increases the speed of your villagers, human soldiers and heroes. Plus 10% speed en masse. Without myth units, no, doesn't matter, but 10% increase in speed on anything is really good. That's a very nice upgrade, and only 10 favor. This is gonna be easy to get. Easy to get. Nahualatli. What? Nahualatoli. Nahualatoli. Reduces the cost of your traps, increases their build limit. Oh. Feels like the cost currently of the traps maybe could be requiring some kind of help in here. But I also right now missed the main thingies for the god. So, Obsidian Mirror, target any player to secretly copy their archaic age god power. Wow, we actually going into this? No, well. That is actually very much moving away from kind of like the standards that we are used to in Age of Mythology. Huh. No, but nonetheless, it's gonna be quite a bit one-sided, right? You're just gonna be stealing the one from the enemy. It's gonna be a bit useless against somebody, or useless. I mean, like, you're gonna be having some more better use cases. For example, against a Loki, getting the spy. Theoretically, you can get some good use case for that as well. It depends on the level. On the highest level, you usually kind of know what to expect already, so the spy is a bit less useful. But on the lower levels, it might be kind of cool, anyway. I don't know. Kind of feels like maybe somewhat weak. But I can probably understand that it's like within the mythos in there. And mythology. No, again, feels a bit more Hearthstone-y. I just kinda can't shake the feeling that there are some inspirations that the devs are probably playing Hearthstone or some kind of similar games. Because I definitely feel a few connections there. No, nonetheless, Tepeyotl's Reach is gonna be the special upgrade, increasing the damage and jump distance of Ocelotl warriors and Jaguar riders. Alright, Ocelotls plus 15%, all actions damage, and Ocelotl is gonna be getting the same as the Jaguar, plus 2 to jump attack maximum range. I guess. I mean, like, still, it's like later in the game only. Ocelotl, especially the Jaguars. Ocelotl is of course earlier. But still. Coyote, you have right about now that. Ocelotl is gonna be there. Oh, they have therefore... Okay, so that means that the Ocelotl is having therefore jump attack. That I actually didn't get from the description. Elite infantry that's actually jumping on the fight. No, so some kind of Anubites as normal units. Interesting again. No one for some for the further gods. That's gonna be in the heroic age. Koyol Shahukwe. Right, that's gonna be probably the pronunciation. Koyol Shahukwe. Yeah, probably so. Goddess of the Moon and Mystery, Devotion and Upgrades. So we're getting Starfall. Target location to bombard enemies with falling stars. Tzitzimitl star demons occasionally emerge from the craters to fight for you. So a combination of ancestors and meteors, therefore. Probably a lot weaker than the meteors, or at least should be. No, well, remains to be seen. Might be somewhat interesting, like a combination that we've also seen with Tempest, for example, for Freyr. So it's a kind of combination of a few god powers in there. So probably gonna be useful, I imagine. And we do have Tzitzimitl, skeletal star demons that strike with terrifying speed, and their hunger for life force allows them to sustain themselves in prolonged combat. So therefore that's, what was it called, Jiangxi? Or something along those lines, the vampires that were on Extended Edition Chinese, that were removed on Retold. Or Jiangxi, or what they were called. No, so yes, practically some vampires. Sure, why not? We have the mechanism in the game already. So upgrading them to Star Demon, and which deal more damage and attack faster. So therefore, better healing for those. That's gonna be pretty useful. Then we do have Coil Shahukwi's Stone. Reduces the resource cost of upgrades researched at the Temple and Great Temple. Thinking it's gonna be especially useful, especially for the Great Temple, for the castle, therefore. But minus 75% discount is kinda wild. You can see the cost of resources none. However, the favor is kinda high. 30 favor is a lot for a Heroic Age upgrade. But the bonus you actually get from that is pretty neat. This will be finding its use, in my opinion. Tezcatlipoca's Penance. Increases the favor earned by devoting settlers. Devote rate by 15%. Okay, sure. Extra favor in there. Upgrade only. It's very interesting how it's costing only wood. Isn't that actually the first time that a god upgrade is not gonna be costing favor? I'm pretty sure that might be. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that might be the first upgrade that doesn't cost favor from gods. I mean, like, I understand the logic beyond that. But at the same time, it's a bit unnecessary right now, breaking off the mold. But sure. And last one, it's gonna be there for Metzliapan, and it will be reducing the favor cost of axolotls and mutants and allowing them to use their special attacks more often. So simply improvements on those. Probably nobody is gonna be doing that unless some kind of special troll strats, I'll be thinking. And well, the Mythical Age, that's gonna be Xolotl, or Xolotl rather, therefore. God of Monsters and Deformities. Myth units. No. Interesting to be having a God of Deformities. It might be the first time I actually seen some kind of God of that in any kind of mythology. Guess they were having some issues with that. The Aztecs. Corrupted Ground. Target an area to corrupt the earth. Defeated enemies here will be reborn as vile abominations that fight for you. So that's practically what Demeter is having. Again, connections to Demeter being simply a testing god. Testing god for the Aztecs. What I was saying from the start, it simply is true. Yeah, so that's like a different underworld invasion. Just like limited in place. Reborn, but basically that means all of them. I guess unclear wording. Maybe it's just gonna be some limited amount as well. But if you're gonna be having some big battlefield, it's gonna be there for useful. And that's gonna be... It also depends. If it's gonna be only defeated after you cast the god power, or if it's gonna be even defeated before. I mean, like, the mechanism is in the game to be keeping in check how many units have been killed and which ones, and not sure where, therefore. Yeah, this one I need to be seen in work. Soul Guide. Tall corrupting being that can summon... What the hell? Tlakanechke melee. By corrupting their enemies. Good against human soldiers. And what is Tlakanechke melee? That's these guys? No, that's Tzitzimitl. No, that's not any kind of unit that we have here, right? Yeah, I have no idea what they're supposed to be there for meaning. I guess maybe there's just gonna be there's gonna be like a new unit. Something like you have minions for for the mummies. Maybe it's gonna be of a similar idea. Yeah, that actually seems like when I'm thinking about it, that's gonna be practically that. Yeah. That will be the same now, as mummies used to be especially. And, well, of course, kind of are still. And Torch of Misfortune, upgrading Soul Guides to Soul Masters, which can use Chain Lightning attacks. Right. And even in Star, Xolotl grants a free Soul Guide for each of your existing Great Temples and wherever a new one is completed. Yeah, so that's... Okay, so that's something that we have, for example, with the Myrmidons and stuff. For Greeks, we're gonna be having a different variant of it here. Summon one Soul Guide. Interesting upgrade. If you're gonna be, of course, wanting to spam the castles, therefore, Twisted Limbs. Xolotl contours the bodies of Ocelotl warriors, allowing their leap ability to deal more damage and increasing their hit points. No, so kind of like a combination with this and the first upgrade, the Tepeolotl's Reach. Maybe interesting combo right there. Plus 20% hit points is good. And the jump attack damage on top of it. And Stone Skin Quinametsin, which have more range, attack and hit points. So we are adding 30% hit points, pretty good. Actions damage also quarter nice increases, but also pretty high cost. 300 food and 200 gold is no cheap thing. That is not cheap at all. No, and last one, it's gonna be there for Quetzalcoatl. He is gonna be there for focusing warrior priests and nobles, hut warriors. Warrior priests generate 0.5 favor, 0.05 rather, favor per second. That's like relics. Also having similar rate, or the same rate. Favor per second by performing bloodletting at temples. And they actually performing that, or... I guess... That's gonna be a thing then. Still also to be seen. But again, it's called bloodletting with capital B, so it's gonna be a mechanism therefore. That's maybe just gonna be the sacrificing of your own units, right? Like of the villages and stuff. So Calpulis and their additions cost minus 33%, so that's gonna be therefore the bonuses on the granaries and stuff. Here, the outposts and the pen and the workshop. That's something like that you have for Gaia, having the economical guilds cheaper, but here it's gonna be probably a bit more useful since you have to be building actually more of them. And Nobles Hut units plus 15% hit points. Nice bonus, I guess. And Eagle Warriors plus 2 range. Plus range on the Eagles. So far I haven't had any kind of bonus actually onto Eagle Warriors, if I'm not mistaken, in the... like a specific one, that is. But plus 2 range, that is pretty nice. Depends what's gonna be their base range, of course. God Power will be Tailwind. Target a group of friendly units to boost their movement speed for a short duration. So that's a God Power that we have had also in extended edition for the Chinese. What was it, the rabbit feet or something with rabbits it was called. Which was increasing temporarily speed of units. So that's gonna be similar. Not bad, that is a useful. If it's not in the game yet, then it's of course gonna be useful. That's definitely cool to be potentially escaping from some stupid positions. Or run away from some pursuing army. Getting ahead of some villages maybe. Feast of Sustenance. Quetzalcoatl enables livestock to be devoted at a temple to temporarily increase the get rate of all villagers. Right. So can now be devoted at a temple for a plus 15% increase in all get rates for 15 seconds. So in a similar way to what we have with the Gurjaras in AoE 2, where you can garrison livestock into mill, and you're gonna be getting food from that like longer term. Here it's gonna be of course also introduced by Demeter again, the bonus that you get for the temple. So again, Demeter was just again testing God for the Aztecs. Yeah, that's what it was and what she was. Yeah, that can be seen some use. Depends how many you can get and how much of an increase therefore. For 15 seconds, so basically like one animal I guess for 15 seconds. No, considering how many herdables there can be in the game, you can very easily collect like 15 herdables for example. I wouldn't be necessarily discounting the bonus this is gonna be bringing to you. Like if you maybe sacrifice 10 of them, then it's gonna be 2.5 minutes of 15% extra economy. That's something. Somebody's gonna be doing the math what it is, but I can imagine that'd be hundreds of resources. That doesn't feel too bad. That feels like it might be having some use cases. Will be all about math, so this is very easily countable if it's gonna be useful or not. No, and otherwise we are not gonna be having income specific gods, just no specialties like Hera, and it's gonna be all the same. So did we get something here that I maybe missed and I didn't see somewhere? Probably not too much. No, quite a few specifics therefore in here. And definitely looking forward how it's gonna be therefore playable, how it's gonna be working out. So far it seems like, as I mentioned at the start, that players are struggling. The winning percentages are pretty low for the Aztecs. But again, it feels like that it is quite a bit of a different beast, how to use that. Well, we already see some kind of possible combinations. The traps are pretty specific. Feels like that the smoke one is considered cost. It might be having some good use cases in the very early minutes of the game. The others, hard to say. The cost is kinda prohibitive. And also not entirely certain if you build them with soldiers or if you build them with villagers. That is also something that's gonna be, of course, dictating if they are useful or not. Because if you can build it with soldiers, that's of course gonna be great. Kind of like an Age of Empires 4 mechanism, where soldiers can be building things, like caltrops and especially the spikes therefore. No, nonetheless, interesting design in general. You can definitely see some kind of repeats and whatnot, that there are already way too many things, of course, going on, and you just can't be sufficiently and all the time original. So sometimes it's a bit more visible, but at the same time there are also decent amount of new ideas, some kind of reused ones, especially from like the scraped Chinese from Extended Edition, and it's alright. I mean, like the ideas were there, and when they are not utilized anymore, then why not, for example, here? No, and definitely feels like Aztecs will put some work in, for sure. Bit interesting, the bonuses for the main gods, by the way. They seem to be kind of like on the bit lower side. Maybe they wanted to be careful because they, of course, on the release I have retold, they added plenty of bonuses and they had to be significantly backtracking after. As they definitely overshot. So now maybe they're just being a bit more careful about it. And maybe there's gonna be... I wouldn't be surprised if there will be some additional changes to these special... Yeah, I'm not entirely afraid of those sweeping changes, so we'll be expecting they will be coming. So there are a few things that we have mentioned that are gonna be, in my opinion, pretty strong. There are some combinations that could be OP. But otherwise, kinda depends how specifically it's designed and how it's gonna be usable in the game now. Plenty of them are kind of under question. But well, depends of course on the player creativity. Maybe we have also sparked some inspiration today here. Just kinda looking at it from our point of view. Okay, so at this point, that's gonna be there for it here for the Tech Tree. And we're gonna be trying to see if we can get some actual games in as well. But also wanted to be mentioning the relics, by the way, that came with the DLC. Let me see if I can right now find it here on the web. There, here, okay. Because I also wanted to be mentioning those. Then we are talking about all things here. So, these are gonna be right now the new relics that are coming into the game, and frankly, most of them feel pretty strong. 4 HP for all, 4% HP for all human units is really nice. Bacchanalia is, or Dionysia, at this point is 5%. So it's basically like a free upgrade for a heroic age. That is already decently expensive there. So this is extremely good. This is also pretty nice, 2.5% movement speed for all units. It kind of seems that maybe it's not entirely as much, but when you're gonna be considering that it's gonna be for everything, it is useful. I don't think it's super OP, because again, 2.5% is not incredible increase. The 5% is usually kind of like the threshold where it's really useful. So I'm thinking it's not gonna be broken, but there might be some kind of specific use cases where maybe it's gonna be nice. So it's not a bad one. At the same time, not sure if it's gonna be OP, probably not. Because, for example, there used to be the relic, the Mithril Horseshoes, 10% onto Cavalry, they nerfed it into 5. So usually, whenever they were having bonuses, even in AoE2 that were like 10% extra speed, they had to be reducing it to like 5% most of the time. So I think this is gonna be probably fine. That was therefore, no, let's struggle with the names. So Chocolatl. Well, is it supposed to be like, that's gonna be like chocolate, therefore. That's gonna be chocolate. Chocolatl, when you hear it. Ehekailakokoscatl. Ehekailakokoscatl is the second. Then Mayahuel's Megway. Human units refund 10% of their cost after dying. That kind of ties back to one of the special abilities in there. Of one of the gods. That's returning the cost upon completion of the buildings. The fortifications, or what was it? So human, just the temples, great temples, and something TC maybe, not sure. But human units refunding 10% on their cost after dying is actually pretty nice. Like 10% reduction, that's basically like blanket reduction on cost besides the first investment. So basically 10% decrease of unit cost. Frankly, feels pretty good. This is probably gonna be OP. Wouldn't be surprised if this is reduced into 5. Bone Shards of Mictlan. Myth units refund 2 favor after dying, which is practically also 10%. Because if you think of it, on average, you're just gonna be having like 20 favor per myth unit if you're gonna be averaging all the ages. So this is like 10% favor back. Not bad. Actually pretty nice as well, in my opinion. Hummingbird's Beak. Infantry soldiers have plus 0.1 multiplier versus infantry. That kind of feels weak. Not too entirely extreme. Atlatl of Ehekatl. Archetype units and buildings shoot faster. Depends how much faster. But any kind of increase in the speed is nice. Not sure if it's gonna be something extreme like we have, for example, Ethiopians in AoE2 where they shoot like, what, 18% faster? That is, of course, significantly powerful, but not expecting anything like that here. And Xiuhcoatl, myth units have plus 15% multiplier versus myth units. That's not too bad. Considering they do a lot of damage, that 15% is gonna be translating into decent increase. That feels nice. And also curious if it's gonna be working on Titan, by the way. Because plenty things do work that work on myth units do work on Titans. Unless they are specifically excluded from that mix. Okay, so that's gonna be there for that. Just wanted to be also adding them in. The others are just for the campaign, so not entirely too relevant. And for some of the balance changes for the game itself, there wasn't really too much done. Just some kind of adjustment to Tsukuyomi's new moon, but really just a fix, pretty much not the balance. And it's pretty much it, right? I don't think there was anything on the balance sheet too much. Just the villagers are having homing missiles, and just the Hamadryas have been changed, therefore. Tsukuyomi that. And yeah, that's it actually. Just the Hamadryas cannot be shifted when they are trees. And some kind of adjustments to the ability cooldowns. No, and then of course addition of some new maps that we are gonna be getting. Maybe you can be also mentioning that, by the way, when I'm right now looking at that. So Blood River Crossing, so that's gonna be practically something like a highland, but you're gonna be having only one crossing available. Seems like quite a bit of a boomy map therefore because of it. Seems like that one TC is gonna be, not sure if in range of the water, almost looks like that it could be. At the same time the bottom one, not necessarily, but high amount of gold, or high, decent amount of gold. It's only 3 actually per side. So maybe it's not gonna be that super high. Wood is fine, food is... It actually seems to be a bit more of a modest map as far as the resources. Maybe tricky distribution of the fish, that might be sometimes a bit unfair. But Cloud Forest, that's going to be therefore looking like... Those are supposed to be some kind of hiding places therefore for some of the soldiers. Hidden caves and narrow passes create natural choke points, with elevated vistas and hidden caves offering ambush points. So it's supposed to be playing into the mechanisms of the DLC. Mist-shrouded mountain rainforest lies along the Aztecs migration route. So feels like maybe partly Alfheim. Seen a lot of food in here, like a high amount of hunt. 1, 2, 3, 4. Seems like it's gonna be some... What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 gold mines in this at least spawn of the map. Still would be liking if he maybe went for like the 3, but maybe it's gonna be 3 to 5, not sure. But yeah, plenty of limited movement points, so it's gonna be possible to maybe wall things up and have some kind of choke points. 50 C extra. So something like Megalopolis, that was removed from the map pool, by the way, from the ranked map pool and quick match. So yes, extra TC there. And also 2 relics. And the first map is having actually 4 relics per each player. That's a bit extreme for my idea. That at least will be maybe motivating for players to finally pick them up as well. Obsidian Ridge. That seems to be like a heavy, like a defensive map against right now the Ridge. TC with the gold. Can be saying and talking to you more about, let's just gonna stay in base and wait for the late game. Probably gonna be like the first thing you're gonna be wanting to do is wall up these places from your starting point. So it feels like a Black Forest almost in AoE 2. A rugged highland plateau teeming with golden wood, where narrow passages funnel movement toward the center, inviting conflict to claim its riches. Dense forests, rocky outcrops, and sheer cliffs create strong defensive positions but make navigation perilous. While scarce food demands careful planning and strategic control of the terrain. It was actually even just the first one. As the text for it, the sacred river splits the map, with its central crossing forming a contested choke point, perfect for ambushes and surprise attacks. Really? And huntable animals are plentiful, but gold and wood are scattered across the land. Like, really? Ambushes? I mean, like, it's very interesting how you actually have the access here for the dock. Like, one dock there, and this almost looks like it's gonna be mountains, right? So therefore you cannot be building anything there. If it's gonna be true, then it's gonna be a bit weird map. But again, no. Slightly strange design, but Temple of the Jaguar Moon, no, that's just gonna be, well, hellscape. So therefore easy to defend, hard to get through in the first place. Hidden deep within the jungle, a forgotten temple rises amid thick canopy and winding, narrow paths protected by natural choke points, traps and prowling wildlife. Controlling the temple grants a trickle of favor and expansive vision over the surrounding terrain, but limited open space prevents players from constructing support buildings around the prize. So that's gonna be like a middle bonus in here. It's gonna be giving you extra favor. Otherwise, not again, just like super defensive map. I wonder if it's gonna be reliably spawning. It's gonna already see kind of like the cut into the forest in the hunting spots, for example. So hopefully it's coded well, so that it spawns everything that it should. One TC next to you, one more into the midst. Because I mean, like, if you look, for example, at the spawn, then who is having easier access to the temple? Obviously the top player, right? So that's probably gonna be a problem for the balance here. And also maybe the positions of the gold mines and stuff otherwise. I mean, like, look at it, there's gonna be one gold here, same situation there. So easy access, and the further ones, the further gold mine for the top player is all the way here, beyond the middle of the map almost. So yeah, this map seems like it's gonna be a nightmare for kind of like balanced spawns. It feels that's gonna be rage-inducing maybe for players today. And Valley of the Sun Serpent, hidden between mountain peaks. This fertile valley is believed to be touched by Quetzalcoatl's divine favor. Gold is plentiful and power is within reach, yet wood is rare, demanding careful planning from those who seek to claim it. That's kind of like something that maybe Atacama should have been, that we have seen in Pandora's Box, because in AoE 2 where it comes from, it's very low on wood besides the middle. Whereas Age of Mythology though is, if you're gonna be just having small forests next to your base, they do have double the wood than AoE 2. So that's something you need to be playing with a lot more. Maybe that's what they attempted to do here. So probably a bit more of a use case for Demeter's Wither and of course Forest Fire, just to be getting rid of the enemy options and forcing him out. But millions of golds of course on the map, but most of them in the middle. 2 TCs, 2 relics per... Actually, yeah, 2 relics per each of the players, but one of them is going to be apparently in a weird spot. As far as maybe some distribution. But plenty of hunt, evidently. But at least you're going to be having some scarcity of something, or at least an attempt at that. Really, as I always say, we'll be loving more maps that would be scarce on resources of any kind of kind. Maybe no hunt even. That would be definitely fun for me. No camp, so that's gonna be there for the introduction of the new things in there. And we are gonna be there for trying to find some games. Okay, so that was one game that didn't have Japanese or Japanese Aztecs, so I'll be like in at least like one game. It's getting late, so probably like one game with Aztecs. I'm gonna be fishing for one right now, hoping to get at least one in here. No, and then we're gonna be getting plenty of Aztecs on the weekend. That's gonna be the Jerebots Jaguar Joust, hosted by him and on Boys Discord. So I'm gonna be planning to stream definitely what is this, Saturday, because there are gonna be decent matches in the first rounds. And Sunday I'm not sure, but if I remember correctly, I couldn't find it again, like the information on that somewhere. But I'm thinking that Sunday is also gonna be having the first matches kinda concurrently. So if that's not gonna be enough coverage, I'll be liking to possibly also help there. But yes, Saturday I should be streaming some of the Aztec tournament. Not entirely certain where it's gonna be starting. I think it should be probably 14 GMT again. That should be fairly okay. So yes, there's gonna be plenty of Aztecos there. Considering that players have to be having a certain amount of games also on the Aztecs for the tournament to be even allowed to play, we'll be expecting maybe a bit more activity. But seems like it maybe they're already kind of preparing some special strats and honing their build orders. Punkstar DarthNox seems like a choice. They might be having Aztecs. Yes, great. So Aztecs it is, in a fairly thematic map. We are going to be on Marsh at this point with them. Punkstar, I'm expecting that maybe both of them could be streaming their POV as well. So if they are, then you can find that on Twitch as well. Twitch TV DarthNox VT and Twitch TV Punkstar555. I think it is currently his nickname. He's gonna changing it here and there, so I'm thinking that might be the last one that he has. Or just gonna look into Twitch directory on Age of Mythology and you're gonna be able to find it. No cast then. So let me get acquainted right now with the overall situation in here. What are, for example, the gathering rates? 0.77 on the gold. Food is gonna be 0.9. That seems to be somewhat almost standard, right? It feels maybe slightly slower all over. 0.9 is kinda normal. Let's see also. No, well, we're not gonna be seeing because it's a mirror, so hard to say. And this time we're gonna be having all the new pictures. Amaterasu still hasn't been fixed, by the way. She still doesn't have that proper picture. Neither does Demeter, by the way. Interestingly enough. But the Aztecs do have the treatment correctly done. No, and we're gonna be there for playing with the gods. That's gonna be... I don't remember the names. I know how to read them already, but I don't remember necessarily the names. So... let me right now have a look. Huitzilopochtli is gonna be hard for me to remember. That's a way too much of a long name for my brain. And the other one is gonna be classic Quetzalcoatl. Alright. So those are gonna be the twos. Right now performing here. Interesting. Yeah, god power statues at this point. They're gonna be quite a bit specific as they are in that part of the world. It reminds me actually, my brothers were about 20 years ago in Mexico. 25 years ago. Actually brought me all kinds of good stuff. Some kind of like Aztec calendar classic on some hide or whatnot and some medallion. And they also brought back some kind of statue that they bought there from some guy or whatnot. And considering how it's actually done and how it looks, there's a non-zero chance that maybe that was actually looted from somewhere. From some tomb. Because it actually, if it's a fake, it's a damn good one. So maybe we have a bit of a interesting piece in here as well. But yeah, well, that's kind of how it goes now. That's how it goes in these kinds of countries, and always have. But who knows, maybe just like a well done replica. It's nice though. Now whatever the case, it's gonna be at this point, it was probably Mayan though, I don't think it was Aztec. I think it was more Mayan. The Aztec was the calendar and the medallion. But nonetheless, maybe somebody's gonna be able to actually tell a bit clearer down the line, as apparently gonna be having the lumber outpost immediately. Okay, so interesting to see already some adjustments and some specific build order. Which means Spy is gonna be our scout, apparently right now hiding. It seems like it's gonna be probably the symbol upon them. Yeah, it's gonna be a symbol that he's right now hiding in here. And we are getting temple for what kind of advance? About 4.5. Quite a bit of a late one. But it's a mirror of the Aztecs, so there might be some kind of different rules for them. Livestock pen, so it seems like that we're gonna be, I mean, like Quetzalcoatl is having the discount for those, so it's definitely figuring out figures that they're gonna be using the specialties. You can say now for punkstar on the other side, he's not doing that, so maybe it's gonna be really special for the third discount for Quetzal. There we go. Gonna be getting the two-headed snarkos, and apparently immediately gonna be right now casting, sorry. Huh. So it's having a timer, right? Yes, it's having a timer in there, a long one. What is the time span for that? Oh, that's gonna be at minimum like 2 minutes, right? No, looks like 2 minutes maybe. But seems like that you're gonna be there for getting, of course, this controllable large scorpions from that. So they're gonna be actually units that you can be using in an early game. So as I was always kind of criticizing using of the snakes, I'm thinking that mostly it's because of the defenders not entirely being too good at reacting to it. That's where the effectivity comes from. Here it's gonna be a bit different, as also having the warrior priest. Can say now some decent statistics on him. The hit points a bit on the lower side, but otherwise fine. Can say not triple of them here for Quetzal. Already prepared. I have really no idea what to expect from the meta, so I'm just gonna be commenting on what I'm practically seeing without any kind of prediction. But that's the whole purpose why I want to be seeing this, and why I'm also looking forward to some of the games over the weekend. In the Mythic Clan League, they should be allowed in 2 weeks, because it's just gonna be how the rules are in there. So the players are having some time to prepare, and maybe so that it's not gonna be filled with some kind of cheese strats if they will be available. No, but this is kind of looking like an Eggy practically, just having priests from the start. And what is the myth unit that he's having actually in there? Oh, that's gonna be the rabbits. Oh, they are this way. I was thinking that's gonna be literally 2 units, and they actually have 1 unit, but having 2 pieces to it. Huh. Well, that's an interesting solution and a way to do it then. Okay, going for the Ocelotls. Some upgrades, not yet. Can see currently on the military it's gonna be the same. Villages are also on the same kind of comparison currently. Got powers are going to be Agave Bloom, and we have also the Tailwinds to give some bit of boost on the speed for the Quetzal. On the other side, for Huitzi, we are still going to be at this point now having the Blood Pact. At this point I don't really see anything that is gonna be useful to cast it upon the enemy. No, well, maybe too many upons in there. And he doesn't really have anything all that powerful himself in here that it's gonna be great. Maybe he could be using it upon the snake, not sure. Maybe that could be something. Ah, okay, it's a bit interesting. You can say now the special ability of the snake, they're gonna be having, and it's gonna be having 2. So you can probably use both of them at once, right? I was kind of thinking if maybe it's gonna be one or the other. You're gonna be having to choose, but evidently not. As some Pantly towers are gonna be currently researched here for DarthNox. No, and what do they have as the damage? 6.4. 3 against boats. Kind of classic here. Seems like and feels to me. I mean, like, the infestation is quite a bit clear now because it's periodically spawning. So not entirely certain if that's actually how they imagine this is gonna be cast and use the depths. Because at this point you're just gonna cast it in your base, and in the 2 minutes you get like 2 spawns, it feels like. So extra units for free. That seems like maybe only like the only thing that you want to be using it for. You don't want to be using it on the enemy so that they can destroy it, right? So practically you are spawning 3 units. So that's a bit different Fey beasts, kind of, from the Chinese. The Fey beasts are limited. No, not entirely liking the design, or thinking that I like the design as much. But we'll see, as Agave is gonna be up, and we do have, what, 800 hit points and 800 food on it. So this is basically something like Peach Blossom Spring, right? For Fushi. Just you're gonna be always having just the food in here. Or, well, it's gonna be healing the villages. And that doesn't have actually... That's an infinite one. Aha! So you can therefore use it. That's a healing spring with hit points. Alright. Thinking it would be also interesting mechanism if it was losing hit points. How are you... That's how I was expecting it's gonna be working. That you lose hit points, how you gonna be eating the food from that. Also, by the way, not decaying. That's a weird god power, because at that point you're just gonna eat it until like one food. And then you're just gonna be leaving it standing as a healing spring. That's a weird design. Unless I missed the decay in there. But yeah, it just kinda feels wrong. Feels a weird design therefore. You can see it now, they seem to be there for hiding. Yeah, hiding. Well, the jumps are, no, practically Anubites, but not the myth units. Okay. That also seems to be a bit out there. I mean, like, I definitely like that when that ability was just with the myth units. I mean, on normal units seems to be maybe just gonna proliferate in that a bit too much. But nonetheless, it's at least something special, I guess, for the Aztecs. And see if it's gonna be there for teaching people to use it properly. And therefore, it's gonna be having also some kind of additional effect. Maybe on people using it with other units as well, therefore, like the Anubites. Do we have some economical upgrades already? How are they playing that? Pickaxe right now in place. And for the opposition, we're gonna be having pickaxe and husbandry. How is it with the favor? Yeah, currently having 3 villages devoted to favor in here. Or basically, like, it's gonna be these guys? Yes. Warrior piece right about now, trying to get the favor in here. That was right now how it was signified in there. Wow, 66 population limit against 23. No, but 23 because we don't count the scorpions into pop limit. Yeah. So otherwise you're gonna be having, you think of the scorpions, you have 11 of them. So you're gonna be maybe 3 pop limit. So 33, so you're gonna be having like 60. So not gonna be too much of a different pop limit after all. Seems like a bit of a greedy build here currently by Punkstar, trying to switch into a switch or not. Now Noble Huts. It's also gonna be having to learn how to recognize the buildings. Noble's Hut, that's gonna be plenty of them here. Armory this way. And what do we have otherwise? That's gonna be the War Hut. A lot more simplistic. Nobles is therefore gonna be looking a bit fancier, sure. And having kind of like the chimney. Or what is it there to the top? And we seem to be right now switching into some further even... Apparently Ocelotls are players thinking that they're gonna be the basic unit for you. So far not seeing the other guys. From like the normal buildings. We are at least having the archers right now added in. So to be right now having right now properly on the units. So that's the Ocelotls, not having any kind of coyotes because we don't have the archers. No need for the spearmen because we don't play against non-Aztecs. It's gonna be also interesting right now if the spearmen are gonna be having bonus, for example, against the Jaguar warriors. I'll be thinking that maybe would be making sense. Not entirely certain. As well, there is gonna be there for the armadillo. Let's see if it's gonna be having some fun pathfinding as we saw from that clip from El Matador. As it looks like it also not settler, but the Quetzalcoatl is gonna be the choice for DarthNox. There we go. That's gonna be fairly good usage of the special power, but we're not gonna be able to get anything extra out of it. And the damage wasn't again anything too bad, right? 130 crash damage. Wow. But okay, that's gonna be actually the lower attack speed, but still, that is a number. One hell of a number indeed in there. Not so far, they're just being extremely careful. Of course, the difference, of course, in the priest is going to be that they are on the melee range as opposed to the Egyptian ones. Okay, there we go. And what are the exclamation marks in there? Oi, oi, oi. Okay, gonna be right about now getting the beast coming from the ground, and apparently it moves around. Ah, I was actually thinking that's gonna be just on the spot like the Earth Dragon used to be. But nah, he's having a range, and that's actually making it a lot more useful. Like, incredibly more useful here, as both of them are just gonna be eating the enemy armies. I mean, like, the important piece is that you're gonna be removing the units from the fight. I mean, like, this one is... Oh, he's using the special power on that, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna see how the hell did that Armadillo actually get so large. And it's gonna be the special power here from Huitz. But, there we go, we are dead guy, and seems like that punkstar is dead guy. Because nothing is left for him. Impossible for me to tell what was actually going on in the fight, as far as who was actually having... like some kind of better fight and better composition of the army. But we have seen quite a bit of a good showcase of some of the god powers in here. And the abilities. No, and definitely seems like it both agree that Ocelotls are damn good. What do we have as the basic? Do we have some upgrades? Not yet. Just getting the Okpatli infusions. So it's gonna be the extra 10% hit points in there and the regen. Otherwise you have mediums on them. 35% melee. It's pretty good for a classical unit. And 15% pierce. Yeah, so you're supposed to be countering that with archers. What are the hit points? Excuse me, 200 hit points in classical age. I mean, like, they are not super cheap, 70 food and 60 gold. But 200 hit points, if you're gonna be removing the 10%, like 190 therefore. 190 hit points in classical age is a bit overshot, isn't it? No, that's just like way too much. That is seriously way too much. 190 hit points. Huh. No, no wonder that people are using those. What are the hit points for the archers? 72, that's kind of normal. It's not too bad. The priest is 99. That felt kind of maybe normal. Villages are gonna be classic. Oh, 5% extra, of course, from the upgrade as well. Economically, he's going to be having just the pickaxe and, of course, the infusions. And the other side is going to be the settlers with the pickaxe as well. Yeah, those hit points are a bit odd. That seems a bit overblown for this early in the game. But we'll see if it's going to be actually all there is to it through Aztecs, the Ocelotls. But I mean, like, there's not much of a reason to be doing too many other things, right? You definitely don't want to be doing the spearmen, archers, just to be trying to cancel them, sorry. Coyote warriors then would be maybe trying to counter the archers. But frankly, with those hit points, I don't think you need to be too worried about anything. Like, what is the damage of the archers? 5. 5 damage for the archers. Multiplier against infantry 125. So you're just gonna do in some 6 damage. Plus 6 damage against somebody who's having 200. I mean, like, it's medium, sure, but medium is still classical age. So it's 190 hit points. I mean, like, Hippicon is having what, 160 something, I'm thinking. 4.5 speed, sure. So that's, of course, gonna be offsetting that at least a bit. I think that the hit points are overblown here. Should be like maybe 50 lower. But hard to say how it works out against the other civilizations. Because again, the speed is gonna be an issue, and the fact that they don't have speedy unit. Besides, I think the spearmen are having some higher speed. But yeah, no. Just my first opinion of this. Could be, of course, proven wrong. But maybe there's a reason why the Ocelotls are right now the prime pick here. No, nonetheless, that was a bit interesting, and we're gonna be therefore heading into the post game, and I think maybe we'll be trying to find one more game. It's having all the special upgrades in here. The Toloache trance, I'm thinking it's gonna be pretty good. In certain situations, feathered shields. Okay, so he's having basically the first line of upgrades from the armory already. And still wasn't really useful for punkstar. Still no use there. So let us therefore have a look into post game. Not many idols. Wouldn't be entirely expecting from these players, and it was a fairly peaceful game, just gonna butt in heads with the armies in there mostly. Civilians, of course, that's gonna be there for pretty much the same level. Seems to be just like a loss in here for punkstar. Military units, that's gonna be a different situation. Punkstar was, of course, having... They seem to be... No, are they counting here? Probably so, because these are numbers. This is not pop limit. So I guess the Scorpions are counting here. So the Scorpion god power is odd. That mechanism I don't like. How it works. And, well... The odd souls, therefore, are a bit weird. First impression from this game. So you do have, what, about 1400 at the start, and they seem to be deviating. Oh, that's gonna be, of course, the difference in the classical age. 337 for punkstar, so you can apparently advance pretty quick with them. DarthNox preferring to be going for a bit stronger economy in here. No, well, with the bonus the DS from Quetzal. You can see he's already managed to get there for, what, 600 resources bonus in a mirror. I mean, like, that's... No... Again, that's gonna be making pretty good sense, because the extra bonuses you get from upgrading the... What is it? Kui something... What was it called? Calpuli. The Calpuli. They do give you a lot of extra resources. So makes sense, it's gonna be transplanting itself here. But you can see the difference even growing. And in the end, we're at where? 1900 resources, which frankly on its own isn't that bad, but the early stage is gonna be therefore important for DarthNox, even having the investment into towers, for example. 93 favor for him, for punkstar. DarthNox at 75. Yeah, that's really something that's gonna be hard for me to properly appreciate, how they get in the favor through the fights. If this is gonna be... no, 93 favor, still more for punkstar. Even though DarthNox like supremely won the fight. Interesting decision, or decision difference right there. And well, nothing much here. GG. And I was curious about the rabbits. If you can be there for like multiplying them just like randomly on the map, or if it's literally just from the fights. But it feels like that maybe the wording is not entirely correct in the tech tree. And they can be only healing through the berry bushes. It would be making better sense. Because if you could be just multiplying them by eating bushes, that would be kind of weird. So I'm gonna be assuming need it to be worded nicer. Kind of thematic, Montezuma here. Not on the camel though. Sirtoka. Is that gonna be like our Sirtoka from Woobley? I didn't entirely recognize any of the other players in here. But almost wanted to maybe give it a shot. If they're gonna be having some Aztecs there. That's Tuccio. I like it more of a team game. To see if they will be having a bit more Aztecs in there. Let's maybe see if there are some Aztecs or not. If not, then we're just kind of looking for a different game probably. What do they have? They don't have any Aztecs in here, so yeah, I'm gonna be going for a different game. I'll be liking to have something a bit more. And that's gonna be the last game for today. Two v2 that developed into 3v3. Classic arena couplin. RecoN and Jack. Feels like it. Maybe we can have a look at that. Okay, so hopefully that's gonna be Aztecs. At least once. It's gonna be like an Aztec against somebody else. And it's gonna be the Aztec we didn't see. So I'm fine with this. So that's gonna be the last game for today. So let's therefore see some top level gameplay. Somebody was already spectating it, so maybe somebody is also casting it otherwise. Alright, so we're gonna be having, that is a Savannah, isn't it? Yes, that is a Savannah. Always having a problem and still recognizing them as properly, because on the original game they were having a lot more recognizable tile sets, especially on a minimap. Here I'm still struggling on it on Retold to properly recognize it, because it looks similar between like, Blue Lagoon and Savannah here and others. Doesn't entirely jump out to me as it did. Still, year and a half after release. But we're going to be therefore having Jack90 with Hades. Seems to be having quite a safe gold mine here at the back. And well, on the other side, it's going to be therefore Taiwan AoE gamer RecoN, who is going to be performing with... Well, let's get a help on the name. We are going to be playing here with Tezcatlipoca. So gold mine also going to be a bit open though. Doesn't have forest nearby. So, no, well, if it weren't for Hades, you'll be almost worried about the raiding in here. But evidently that's not gonna be as much of a concern now. He is not entirely seeming to be going for the specialties on the Calpulis. That really feels like it might be only a thing, especially in the early stages for Quetzalcoatl, because again the costs are kinda high, and if you want to be advanced in some kind of normal timing, you really do not want to be investing it early, I guess, if you're gonna be expecting. And there's gonna be some possible threats too early, but frankly, with Hades on the other side, it's very likely there's gonna be a second TC. But no clue what maybe meta has already developed in the few days, and well, maybe like a week plus, because of course some people would have been already testing the game earlier at the DLC. And we're gonna be having therefore the Dwarven Calipers as relic number 1. Not a game changer. Jade hair for the myth unit movement speed. That is kinda nice. Would be also nice if we had the rabbits. Maybe kinda thematic there. The harmonious necklace. And last one is gonna be 9 cauldrons. So there are some kind of options, especially harmonious necklace is great. It's always a cool choice to have. Do we see some kind of like maybe faster classic coming up? Maybe RecoN seems to be already having some decent amount of food. But nonetheless, seems like it's gonna be still somewhere about 4 minutes and there. Approximately. For the other side, we're just gonna be chilling next to and in the base. Where are the next gold mines, for example? Fairly interesting combination here for Jack. If he's gonna be able to take the second TC, he practically has also a gold secure. As a close enough one. Also slightly protected by the ponds to the top, where he doesn't have to be there for walling. That is definitely playable. As for the opposition, unfortunately, you can see RecoN doesn't have any kind of combo like that with a gold next to a TC. He's gonna be having a bit more of an open field one leftwards, but at the same time not too far away from the main base. So if he's gonna be just developing temple, military buildings around here, it's gonna be also pretty much within reach. No issue with that. And it's gonna be just generally, I think, tempted to go downwards. Monkeys, you can see some rhinos. Even the lions are gonna be pretty useful on Retold. So yeah, not a bad combination in here, in general and overall. It's gonna be also quite a bit interesting. What was that? Well, that was, I think, in the effect of the homing missiles for the villages. It was some kind of weird graphical effect in there of the arrow and like coming back or whatever. Thinking it's gonna be having something to do how they have changed the precision on the latest patch with the DLC release. But what I wanted to say, that if you would be having somewhat like a, for example, the Calpuli in between the wood and the food in here, then, which probably should have been also by the way placed there, because you can then later use it also for the wood line, then you're gonna be, we just gonna want you to even replace the specialties. Can you replace the specialties? That when you have, for example, specialty for gold, you can switch it into the specialty for food? I don't have the DLC, so I can't entirely check, but I would be hoping that's the case, that you can switch it over. It would at least be somewhat consistent with what they have in other games. No, but nonetheless, you're gonna be there for through here. And yes, second TC is going to be a play for the good powers. We are, of course, having the Obsidian Mirror, so therefore you're gonna be stealing the Sentinels, so we can't be entirely doing anything all that much up. This is probably gonna be a bit tripping me once I'm gonna be scouting and streaming the games. But, well, seems like that we are having also the Lullaby, which, in my opinion, is a great thing. He's gonna be probably stopping them immediately to delay the second TC. Is he? Might want to be even... Well, that's a kind of question, how many actually of the units you are gonna be able to take. So maybe it's being... Okay. That was an interesting right about now special at this point, jumping into a fight. So we are definitely seeing cool items and things here in the game. Enjoying that quite a bit, exactly as you'd be expecting, of course, from some of the toppest players in Age of Mythology. Loving how he's and what he's doing in here, but unfortunately he's gonna be losing the hit points in here. So one villager dead game. Maybe what he could have been doing at the end also would have been basically just trying to sleep them after. Maybe it would have been actually useful. Yeah, I'm still confused. Can you not sleep there for villagers? I mean, like it says enemies, but plenty of god powers, for example, like bolt and stuff, they cannot be used on villagers. So, not sure if maybe it's not like everything specified in them. But it just kind of felt like a play. Delay that, get in the further units in there, jump into them yet again. No, well, whatever the case. And this is right now gonna be the Tezcatlipoca, okay. Helping out here. But they have a lot of jumping there for the Aztecs in different versions in here. No, nonetheless, Sentinels are gonna be in, because of course this is right now quite a bit seriously meant by RecoN. And just kinda brings me back to one of those, about like a year ago, maybe even more, Chronos games, where he was just like, it was some team game and he was playing Chronos and he was just like crushing somebody and he was doing it so damn well. No, well, seems like he's gonna be aiming for something similar in here with Tezca. What is he doing here? He's getting... Was he just like... No, he couldn't be stunned. There's no that kind of stun from the Hades. So he was just gonna doing something in there. Oh, he was just maybe like... Yeah, trying to do some of the special in here on the unit. Not sure, but whatever the case, we are gonna be at this point therefore having a problem for RecoN, because his units are kind of dead game. And as you're gonna be casting therefore the Sentinels, you can see it's gonna be apparently activating like both of the god powers. And the Obsidian Mirror is gonna be available in a few seconds yet again. And that's gonna be having therefore timer down on the Sentinels. Target any player to secretly copy their arcade gotcha. Oh, that's an interesting one. Now you can therefore use it again. And does it keep like maybe the Sentinel normal actually decay? The recast timer. Now that I would be very much interested in seeing. Wow. Apparently laser beams are gonna be a thing here. Oh, that's right now also one I'm a bit curious about, because you can therefore turn him, or it turns into the tower. And I wonder if it's gonna be therefore on command, or if it's somewhat like automatic. As apparently it seems like that it's Papalotl is gonna be therefore the choice for RecoN as the next. Right now, option. I wonder why is he actually not right now casting the extra Obsidian Mirror immediately. Unless you're just gonna can somehow for some reason. Well, whatever the case, let's have a look at some kind of upgrades here. Hendux on the economy for the opposing side. It's gonna be there for nothing. But he did get right now... did he not? He actually didn't. I was kinda thinking he already did. There is at least gonna be the crafts workshop, or craft workshop for the gold. And that's the tricky one, because if you're gonna be there for getting the resources into it, it will be turning them into gold, 15% of those. So he wants to be a bit careful, for example, so that the villages are not gonna be going in there. It's gonna be curious about the placement of it. And just gonna, again, not having some kind of villages going in that you don't want to. So, I have to be careful about that. Settler right now gathering some extra favor in here for the red player. However, It's gonna be only for a moment, as you have double temple built even in here. Otherwise, mark it there. Economy so far still tight, with towers of course upgraded as well a bit earlier. But Heroic Age is in, and now I'm gonna be very much curious about the Purge God power. Maybe you're gonna be even seeing it played. Against the horses, again, it seems kind of nice, but it will be depending if the Obsidian Butterfly can somehow therefore keep them in place from dispersing. You're having a lot of kind of weird sounds going on in here. I'm not entirely certain from whom necessarily. Looks like it's gonna be this small dude maybe. The Chaneke. It's right now gonna be apparently in the turret mode. It's a bit weird to be having turret mode in a historical game practically. But I guess you have to be calling it somehow. What do we have? 30 damage. 30 damage, that's pretty good. For a flyer, and pretty quick flyer, 5.8. That's gonna be a very good raider. Maybe you're just gonna be having something like Tengus again in the game, once the players are gonna be perfect in that. One with 560 HP. Apparently can be just gonna go in even into the middle of the enemy. Enemy fortifications. So apparently what we can definitely tell by this is that the range of the special power is not really too great. He literally hit only one of the villages that were running away, and then nothing else. So that kinda sucks. That's gonna be probably throwing out the window my idea about it. And what were we sleeping? I have no idea what we were actually sleeping at in there. Well, whatever the case, not gonna be too relevant, but oh wow, we're already having 3 of them from RecoN, so it seems like that maybe he is, yeah, attempting to right now do something special. Okay, some kind of damage at this point into the villages, so 5 of them destroyed by 3 dudes. Yes, very much feels like we're gonna be having some Tengus or maybe some kind of Avenger story from Extended Edition in here, like in the split. I can say now, Jack kind of falling for that, and they cannot be actually fighting against the Pegasus. Aha, because they are not like truly flying, probably like high. Wow. Alright. I'm thinking we have an idea what's gonna be happening over the weekend. I'm thinking it's gonna be Deska, and I'm thinking it's gonna be butterflies. So, you saw it here. And probably also on some other streams, but yes, this seems to be damn good. 19 villages, by the way, for Jack90. 31 currently for RecoN, as we get in and attempting to get a 3rd TC. But he's gonna be barely having any kind of economy to even get enough food for the replacements here. But yes, Obsidian Butterfly is apparently good. And we are back, killing a few more of them. Well, so it seems like it maybe like the range isn't entirely too super high, but the fact that they actually are flyers, even though I'm still kind of confused how high flyers are, they are with that Pegasus in there, that we have seen the comparison before, they can basically get on top of the units and they can unleash the special power that way. That is actually super huge help. Okay, okay. Come on, once again. Rather just jumping into the fortress immediately. Yeah, seems like it's gonna be there for the end of the fun in here. So the Obsidian Shard and spawns a myth unit once you're gonna be... No, I mean like we have already lost actually quite a few of them, or will be even losing some few more. So I'm thinking it is actually fairly nicely fit in together. Okay. Jesus, the sounds they're making. They went pretty cheesy right now with the Aztecs on the sounds, but okay. It's gonna be getting some time to use, maybe to get used to maybe. But nonetheless, seems like the Obsidian Shard at this point is not gonna be getting any kind of further birth. He would have to be, I'm thinking, losing the 2nd here, right? No, but yeah, it's gonna be the shard gone therefore. He would have to be sacrificed. Oh no, he actually did got... Oh wow, that's a surprise then. So Ayatoshli is gonna be right now coming up. Unfortunately, there's gonna be again the hero, so Jack was careful enough. I was kind of thinking he's just not gonna be getting anything in the end. Managed to get enough, apparently. As you have also right now some great template right now finally ready. And economically, have we actually moved somewhere? At least into Hendax and Plow here. It feels like, as we really still don't have any kind of special upgrades into Calpulis. Seems like that RecoN is completely ignoring those abilities. Alright, switching into farms in here. And all the way topside for the blue player. We are ready with hand ducks. No. At least at this point, Jack has already gotten into some normal number of villages. After a disaster that struck him a bit earlier, he is gonna be on the same-ish level as RecoN, who is very much getting ready for Tezcatlipoca, as that was the guy for God of the Dead and Underworld, Warrior Priest and Death. Oh, that's the one who's gonna be actually bringing like the fallen soldiers on the battlefield to life. That's also something I was a bit interested how it works. If it's gonna be only soldiers after a god power is cast, or maybe even before. Bit hard to say. How about maybe picking up the Harmonious necklace when you have a hero nearby? So, shard is gone, and up rather. So what are we gonna be right now getting here? So maybe I just kinda misunderstood how it works, because I was thinking there's a shard, and then you need to be losing 2 myth units to get a spawn. Or maybe just kinda like, you get a shard when you just gonna lose the 2 myth units. Huh. And then it's gonna be birthing it. I guess you're just gonna be seeing and learning right now. Let's already attack to the top side. It's gonna showcase right now the big boys, but I want to be seeing this first and foremost. Okay, nothing. So yeah, seems like it's maybe I understood it correctly the first time. But whatever the case, we're gonna be there for having Otontin Smashers, medium ones on top of it. So there's of course the siege weapons in here, somewhat like the destroyers. So what are the statistics? 8 times against buildings, 12 damage, but they do have lower attack speed. Then we do have 264 hit points, 2565. That's pretty much destroyers, with the fact that destroyers have higher melee resistance, if I'm not mistaken. And at least a bit of help here of the god power, you can say it now, destroying some first and early Hippospis, and I will be very curious if he can jump into the fortress. But definitely what I'm taking from this is the fact that the god power is pretty quick, so the ability to run away from it is no gonna limited. Frankly, but with what kind of range it has, I don't know how quickly you can actually escape it. That seems like it's gonna be really useful god power. And I'm thinking seems like it maybe could have seemed that he didn't have as much of a gain from that, but he did. Because he just like immediately got the fortress destruction, and he's gonna be able to kind of mount up the amount of units that he has. And he's also joining with some short ones. Okay, that's the other guys who are practically the fanatics, right? Yes, they are the fanatics, 13 damage. And they do have apparently some area in there as well, 35-20 on the statistics. Bit lower on the pierce, so archers are apparently supposed to be countering them. Second TC right now attempted currently by RecoN. It almost looked like there is actually flying around here, but rather not. That's gonna be the huge owl, and that's the one that is cursing the enemies. Unfortunately, nothing much to curse in here. As far as removing the hit points, it would be pretty useful if he maybe got some, I don't know, myth unit to use it upon to see the effect. Heavy Jackal Rider also coming in, jumping upon Huron, who is gonna be trying to potentially pull down the Tunkluchu. But is he gonna be succeeding? No, that is a bit different story. Seems like it probably is, because it's gonna be fast enough. Oh, that's actually an area of effect right now, Curse. I'm thinking that wasn't entirely all that evident from the Tech Tree. That's way nicer. That's actually way nicer. That at that point can be used even against, for example, like a group of Hippospis. I was thinking it's only against like a singular dude. That's why I was thinking maybe like a single cavalry, sure. But if it's a group effect, yes, plus. That is damn nice. Okay, where is that? That is the volcano. Okay, so evidently you cannot be casting it onto the TC, because I'm fairly certain that otherwise he would have already done that. And meteors coming down, town center destroyed, and we are leveling the base pretty well. What I'm absolutely liking is that this is not destroying my FPS. As opposed to earthquake or meteors. Meteors are kinda decent as well. Earthquake though is destroying my FPS. This one is a lot more reasonable. And at the same time we have just absolutely leveled the enemy base. Jesus Christ almighty. or well, we should be probably calling some kind of other gods in here. Like, exactly what we have, for example, like the Hades Almighty should be probably Jack calling. But nonetheless, yeah, that was a powerful god power. That looks good. And you can see really the effect of these owls. I'm liking that more and more. If you're gonna be turning it onto on demand and you're gonna be not having it automatic. Okay. Jagger females right now jumping into the fight. Or girls. Holy damn, that was a... Yeah, I was just going to call. It was an insta distraction as well of the Hippospis. This was a superb game. Happy that we actually called this one. This was really showing and explaining quite a few of the things for the Aztecs that I was having actually questions upon. So yeah, no, and I think we have also seen what we can probably expect over the weekend. So definitely Butterfly raiding is gonna be a thing. That seems stupidly OP. The fact that they can be going above the villages because they are flyers. Yeah, that's gonna be extremely dangerous. That's a nerf number one that's gonna be coming for sure, in my opinion. And then, well, all the jumping on the Aztecs is... No, it's just their shtick, no. I'm maybe sad for the Anubites that they're not gonna be as special as they used to be. But yeah, just some kind of at least skill level that's gonna be required and skill expression that is gonna be available in the game in them. These owls are, I'm thinking, promising. If you're gonna be using them well, then reducing the hit points and whatever of the units is pretty nice. They're reducing HP and what else? Speed? Increasing tonal, no, just reducing the hit points and increasing the favor you get in there. Okay. For the kill. Jaguar warriors didn't entirely see too much with them, or Jaguar riders. I'm gonna be probably confusing it all the time because, of course, similar units between AoE2 here and AOM. So that's gonna be similar for me. Bonus against the archers, not practically really cavalry. And we have a black ones. I mean, like on the picture, we are having spotted ones. And they are having panthers, therefore. Because I mean, like Jaguar, the panther is black Jaguar, practically. So heavy. They basically, do they change, therefore? The basic ones are gonna be spotted. And then you change into the different colors. That would be making some sense to me. That maybe is how it works. But yeah, nice to be having right now some ideas. Maybe could be also taking a bit of a screenshot in here possibly of the game. But yeah, enjoy this game. This was really showing quite a few things in here. Looks like that possibly the Calpulis are only with Quetzalcoatl are gonna be changed into the specialties until it's gonna be late game. Later stages in the game when you have a bit more resources. It is kind of expensive, but the bonus that you get from that is definitely high. So you need to be properly appreciating what you want to be doing. And otherwise, I'm really thinking that I'm not entirely certain if that got power with Lullaby. I didn't realize he used it on something, but I didn't see on what. If it couldn't be using on the villagers, because it felt like an absolute play. So it just kind of feels like that maybe you can't. Because I mean, like, otherwise it would be just like an insta denial of the TC. For some time there is. But, well. Interesting, got power anyway. But yeah, superb. Okay, so let's have a look at some upgrades. I can say now we don't really have anything to... Oh, that's a smasher. That's a... Are those actually smashers going to be getting armory upgrades? Do we have like a unit that is something else? That's gonna be the Shorn one. Yeah, it seems like that right now RecoN doesn't have anything from the armory. If I'm not missing anything. And for the opposition... oh well, it's just a shade. Not gonna be helping us as much. Yeah, having copper weapons, apparently. Looking at the Sentinel and not entirely certain if there's an actual unit. 5 population limit, that's gonna be the shade and something still. Maybe still alive here. Yeah, there's maybe something here. Yeah, there's a Hoplite. And he's gonna be having just the copper weapons. Okay, so no further upgrades on them yet. Otherwise, also the gathering rates of the resources, they seem to be kind of normal. Doesn't seem to be anything all that super specialo. So let's have a look into the post game. And maybe if there are gonna be some further information in here. Okay, so evil villagers. Damn. Not too much here for RecoN. Not much of a reason to be having some, considering he wasn't under attack. So of course, understandably, Jack is gonna be in a lot worse situation. Some high ones there. Oh, and well, of course, the kills. It's gonna be funny to see on the civilian. Well, just a spam of few butterflies, and you can see what it can actually do to you. Man, like 5 butterflies, or how many there were at that point? 5, maybe 6, from RecoN. And he has reduced him from 45 to 17 villages. 28 villages he killed in a span of a minute. With just the butterflies. Yep, nerf incoming. But over the weekend we're gonna be having some fun with those. I will be thinking that might be just like major there for play. And otherwise, though, the 30 TCs of course help him get back. But such a damage that's gonna be dealt to you, it's hard to really come back from in a kind of significant way. Military, sure. Bit of a drop here for RecoN, but he wanted to be getting the heroic age, so understandably. At the same time, Jack was not in a kind of way and kind of like form able to use it, considering. And pretty decent army, but obviously the power already wasn't there. And the volcano, yeah, that looks pretty good. That is a good god power indeed. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna be trying to see where the lullaby was cast. Obsidian Mirror, lullaby at about 11 minutes. Gonna be wanted to see what he cast it upon and how and what it did when we already have the opportunity. As otherwise, resources collected. Comparison with the Greek is gonna be meaning that we do have a bit of an edge for Hades, which is interesting because Hades is having the villages on favor, so he kind of drops off at the start a bit, and then the Walls of Erebus only kicks in. Then that's gonna be there for RecoN picking up. Then we get in same-ish, because second TC here for blue. That's where RecoN is picking up. Seems like the economy is gonna balance to be almost same-ish. So not entirely big differences. And that's without the bonuses from the Kulpuli. Remembering all those names. Kalpuli. From the Kalpuli, without the bonuses of those. So Quetzalcoatl is probably gonna be a bit above. We'll see how much he's gonna be and when he's gonna be using it. Then of course village is dead. Immediate drop into some 1900 difference, which is frankly not much of a difference when you think about losing 2/3 of your economy. Would be expecting he's gonna be dropping further, but yeah, well, the TCs apparently brought it back into some normal form fairly quickly. 1700 HP resources in the end, and at the end, and favor for RecoN 268. Damn. What was the length? 20 minutes. Oh, well, for 20 minutes, actually 260 favor is okay. That's not too bad. This one don't have like a direct comparison, but doesn't feel too OP. 57 villages killed, sure. 0 on the other side. No, it was a very nice learning game here. Exactly what I want to be adding to my video for YouTube. Okay, and these guys. Obsidian Butterflies, those are to be really feared quite strongly. And you can see right now also the Warrior Priests, and we were having the special upgrade into them. What is it? You're having like the better version of them. So you can say now Warrior Priest, and you get the T something. Here, the T-ship plus. And it's like an upgrade into the unit. I guess it probably is, right? He has them pretty powerful and jumping around and stopping the TC. And these are, of course, then the upgrades for them. Yeah, that's what we kind of figured then, after all. But yeah, some of the mechanisms are not entirely all that evident in the tech tree. So that's why I want to be having all these special games. And able to therefore understand what's going on properly. And also the sounds of the Aztecs are very interesting. Sometimes they are just like a bit jarring. I guess it's gonna be taking time before we're gonna be properly getting used to them. And apparently he remained as a turret here until the end. So does it mean that he cannot be therefore turning back? Or maybe just gonna be forgot about him? Or is the... Doesn't have even tooltip the ability? No, not sure. I guess you're gonna be seeing some further games then. So, GG. I guess I'm gonna be in order, or GG is gonna be in order, and, well, good luck in the tournament. I'm expecting it maybe both. GG. And now let's have a look at that lullaby got power. I have in the jingle for the Aztecs for the first time. And it's nicely fit in, but let's get in. It's gonna be about 11 minutes. And then I'm also confused why RecoN wasn't using the Obsidian Mirror like for the second time when he could have. I would have really loved to see how it works properly. Okay, so he's getting Coyotl, Warrior Priest Hero in here. And he's turning, yeah, convert to Tezcatlipoca, and it's costing 12 favor. Powerful hero, good against myth units. Okay, so that's how it works. Yeah, so he's just gonna can upgrade upon the, and that's what I actually saw that in one of the fights. I didn't entirely see what it actually does. And he transforms into full hit points. Oh wow. Okay, so that's like basically something like a favor, and turning into hero with hit points. Okay, so right now I know how it works. Good. Yeah, okay, so he can be turning back and forth, sure. So Chaneke is no problem, he can therefore do both. Okay, first Butterfly, and Lullaby is gonna be in a moment still. They're just gonna really die quite a bit after. Is having the poison damage, right? Can traverse both land and water, or does it have poison damage, or was it a different unit? Charge melee, speed, spin, inflict, bleed damage. Ah yes, the bleed damage. Now of course, yeah, so they die after. Making sense. Jesus, man. Okay, and Lullaby is cast somewhere about here, it feels like. Does it actually even show something anywhere? Oh, there! Ah, okay, southwards. Okay, so it's just gonna be there for keeping the army away, And it lasts about 10 seconds. So that he can be right now massacring the villages in there. Right. No, that's a bit extreme way of showing it, but nonetheless, at least it's gonna be quite a bit clear. No, alright. So that's therefore how it works. Now my question is, feels like that it's gonna be used on villages. Jesus, man. So yes, that's my assumption so far, because otherwise it would have been quite a bit of a use case before. But nonetheless, excellent play and pretty interesting. Also gonna be right now waiting for, again, the purge when I'm rewatching this. 22 villages, and of course still losing further ones. Yeah. Okay, that was when we were having some Hippaspis already coming up, so it was a bit late at the perch. Okay, so get in there, or how is it? Yes, okay, so it's gonna be sometime soon here. Hippaspis coming up. It will be there for the perch cast. 5 seconds, and it's a fairly large territory, so you can kind of run away here a bit. 5 seconds, no? That's gonna seems maybe large, but it's not entirely as much. Really depends how well you're gonna be positioned, and the opponent as well. But yeah, that gold power seems pretty powerful to me. There are gonna be some use cases where it's gonna be super broken. And if you're gonna be knowing that the opponent has it, you're gonna have to be playing extremely carefully. A lot more than even against some other god powers that you currently have in the game, like, I don't know, Chaos or... Oh, Locus is not entirely to be feared too much. But Implosion, for example, you want to be avoiding, or Inferno. No, so that was quite a nice showcase. So a few details I wanted to be seen extra. So that's gonna be there for it for tonight. So hope you enjoyed some of the games, both from the Mythic Clan League and right now some showcase of the Aztecs. In between also another game and looking at the Tech Tree and some opinions on that. I'm gonna be trying to put it on YouTube somewhere soon when I can in the next days, hopefully. But it will be there for tonight. And there will be somebody doing some further Age of Mythology for you to enjoy, for sure. That is, for example, Punkstar, as we have streamed him a bit earlier. So that's gonna be obviously a recommendation for you for some further AOM. Then we do have Fork X, who is apparently casting, of course, in Portuguese. No, casting, playing seems to be. Currently playing. Then we do have not all kinds of other streamers. So Herbert V. What is he playing? That seems to be some kind of gauntlet, probably. No, that's right. Actually, some kind of with friends, probably. Some 1v1. V1, probably. Some free-for-all kind of. Then Fortune Chaos. He is playing Obsidian Mirror. That probably will be ludicrous difficulty, so he's playing against AI. Zagart. Seems like a campaign. Okafeina. What is he doing? Campaign as well. Starko is gonna be playing some team games. Kaiser Tepes. You can looking at the huge walls. Maybe some campaign or against AI. Fives. That's gonna be also campaign. Bill's Gaming campaign. The Shark Bear. Campaign. King Sullivan. Let's see. Also probably campaign. Seems like that most people are gonna be, of course, at this point doing campaign. And there is Ayapek, who on the other side seems to be maybe looking at some game. Either spectating or from record. Yeah, seems to be looking at recorded games. Maybe testing some build orders, having some Aztecs in there. Mizojoba, happy Japanese New Year apparently. Aztec campaign, Dadush. There is some competitive 1v1. If you're gonna be interested, Rupert the Red. Aztec campaign and Lord EVVT. There is also campaign Aztecs. Okay, so that's gonna be there for right now. Some competitive gameplay at this point. So That's that. No, and for the players that we have watched in today's games, that's gonna be a lot more interesting as we are starting in the Mythic League. Let me therefore see if I can get links for some of them, if maybe not all of them. Because there certainly were players with streams. Super Afim is having some stream, but he just constantly gets banned, so I don't know, he doesn't have anything listed on AOM stats. Isomarto obviously do know very well. On his Ice Machine, Paranormal as well. And their Super Saiyajin is gonna be the last one. So these are gonna be the players, and we should be also adding from the ones that we have also streamed today. So Punkstar is clear, and from the other games what we have actually watched. DarthNox. DarthNox VT. RecoN is also having, I want to say normally tag RecoN probably. And I'm thinking that will be probably it, that nobody else. Jack90 doesn't have stream. Punkstar was there, and what was the first game that we were doing? The community one. Oh, that was, yeah, that was actually Nito versus Klaus. Okay, so Klaus doesn't, but of course Nito does have. And Nito is like Super Nito, or how is it? No, Fast Nito. I was having something on my mind regarding that, so that should be probably these kinds of links. You should be giving follows to, as these were the players that you're enjoying today in all of their games. And RecoN, I apparently have a wrong link in there. Let me see if I can find the correct one. AOM RecoN, okay. So that should be probably the correct link at this point. Yes, it is. Good. Okay, so that's gonna be there for the players from today. So thank you very much also for stopping by. Thank you very much also to Rappel for the raid in the early stages of today. And also for anybody who stopped by. And also thank you to Alex, Filfer, Zoyus, and Devil. Thank you for the follows. Nimonom, Mephiston, Paranormal, Blossom Goose, and Rappel, thank you for stopping by on the chat, or if anybody else was around as well, lurking and interested in what you're doing here. Thank you for stopping by and spending time here, and who's gonna be interested in the past broadcast as well. Also, thank you very much, Mephiston, for some of the tips and the details. Very much appreciated. No, and that's gonna be it for tonight. So we're gonna be tomorrow having some stream, likely Age of Empires 2. I'm not aware of any kind of Mythic Clan League match for tomorrow. There's gonna be one in about an hour, 24 GMT. There's a match, but I'm not gonna be streaming it, obviously. Somebody else maybe will from the Latinos. So there's a match. And, well, over the weekend, Saturday, definitely want to be streaming the Jerobots Jaguar Joust, because there are gonna be plenty matches that are not gonna be covered in the first rounds. Sunday, not sure. There's a kind of possibility, maybe like the first round, before it's just going to be covered well without any kind of overlaps. But Saturday, I would be liking to have a stream. Should be at about 14 GMT, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. Something like that. Okay, so that's gonna be there for this. And thank you therefore also to the host of the Mythic Clan League. Therefore, that means Deities of Death and the community. Let me right now see if I can also discover. Therefore, the proper names of all the hosts and especially right now the sponsors. So the main admins are J4, Kreese, and Gottschalk. And then sponsors are, of course, Deities of Death, Papa Jeffito, BQVH, anonymous donator. Then there is as well Lucrex, who is also taking care of the Liquipedia, so thank you. Vulfor, Illusionist, Player, Regulate, Isomarto, Ironhide, H2O, sorry, can't speak, and Jut and Benny WR. Thank you very much, all of you guys, for sponsoring. If somebody wants to be still adding to the prize pool of the tournament, feel free to contact Deities of Death, or I can relay you, or something along those lines. No, and thank you, of course, very much to the two clans that we were enjoying their games off in and at the start of the stream. So that was therefore Prostagma Paranormal 2004, together with Afino, so therefore Super Afim, and also Klaus, the dollar sign. And on the other side, that was from Evoid Sports, their Super Saiyajin, Isomarto, Benny WR, and also Eurobot. Also, thank you very much, all of them. And also Kron, by the way. And also Kron M from Prostagma, who was playing in the last game. Forgot to thank him, so thank you very much. And thank you to all the players that you're able to enjoy in the community games after. So therefore, that was Taiwan AoE gamer RecoN. He was playing against Legionarios Phoenix Jack90. Then we're having the uncrappable punkstar fighting against Deities of Death DarthNox. And therefore the first game, that was Klaus and from Prostagma, therefore, and Nito, who is... Nito is from Anime Opai Mousepets. That's the clan. So thank you very much to all of them, because without them, we wouldn't be having all of these games. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you again, Rapple, for the raid, Alex, Filefer, Zoyus, and Devil for the follows, Nimono, Mephiston, Paranormal, Blossom Goose, and Rapple for stopping by on the chat, and whoever was lurking around as well, and maybe will be watching from past broadcasts. Also appreciating you spending your time here. Time to end, considering my speech. So hope that the games were worth it. Some kind of maybe talk as well about the Aztecs. So thanks, I guess, for the new content for the game. We'll see how players are gonna be able to figure out what to do with them. Something's interesting, heading certainly in a certain way that is a bit unconventional compared to the original game. That is certainly true. So we'll see if it's gonna be working well or not after all, when players are gonna be discovering everything. We've already seen some quite nice potential for the abuse. So considering the low win rates after a release yesterday that people are complaining about, we already see some kind of things starting to come up that might be changing that pretty quickly. So look forward to it, I guess, especially over the weekend. Okay, and also thank you El Matador for that funny clip of the armadillo finding its target no matter where it is. Post it on Boys Discord, so thank you very much. Okay, so I've been Blackadder at Blackadder's Place. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and see you later. And thanks to everybody involved we were having today on stream. And I hope you enjoyed, even if maybe the commentary wasn't necessarily in your, I don't know, in your liking. Hopefully you at least enjoyed the games. They were worth it. Same as the drama one, the first one in the tournament. Well, interesting strat, old one, but in a new cape here in Retold with the Gaia trees and forest fire and undermine.